Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with The Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, The Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to episode 89, you wonderful human beings. Today, we're going to be talking about shit beer. We're also going to be tasting some Siren beers. See if we can guess the hops.
Obvious.
Yeah, man, they're all dead obvious. So, hello. Welcome to episode 89 of the Hop Edition podcast. Tonight, I've already done that crap. Let's move on. We're going to help you guys avoid the same issues with the shit beers that we had. That's what we're going to do. So, but before we get started, we have the standard intro, the stuff that we need to talk about because it's very, very important. Everybody needs to know that the Malt Miller are your go-to supplier for everything homebrew in the UK. Check out their new WHC yeast. And also, nobody told you this, right? But they've actually got some smaller kettles in stock. So if you want to do some stovetop brewing, you can. They've got a kettle for that. If you want a Herms, they've got kettles for that. Smaller ones, like I think it's 12.5 litres, 25 litres and 35, or somewhere around about that. So little kettles, top quality stuff, really, really nice gear. Also, there's a dedicated Hop Edition recipe section where you can find a range of beers that are featured on the podcast. Some of them are our own creations. Some of them are just absolute stunners from previous guests. So hit that section up. And finally, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page so you can stay up to date with all of the announcements, as well as interacting with the podcast live during our live streams. Links to the socials Owen is about to put into the relevant chats, aren't you, Owen? See, there we go. This is how organised we are. I even managed to cock up starting the bloody podcast. I don't know how I managed that, but you know, I have skills.
That was smooth.
I have skills.
Very slick.
I'm
very
smooth.
slick.
Live. No,
The problem was, right, I clicked
Smooth
live.
operator.
I clicked live, and normally I get a little live thing that pops up on StreamYard, and it never popped up. And I thought, man, it's fucked because the blue button said go live, and I'm like, what the? Anyway, so you all saw what happened. I cocked up. That's what it is. So we're drinking some beer.
Behind the scenes, we're all putting the V's.
Yeah, what can I say? I have skills and talent. We're gonna jump straight into this. Okay, we're gonna sort out, and we've got quite a bit to get through in this podcast. I've got a feeling there's gonna be some serious conversation. So I'm gonna hand it over to Owen, who's gonna do his bit. Unmute yourself, Owen.
Yeah, you give me quite a few jobs to be doing at the same time. Thanks for that.
I figured a man of your caliber and talent could handle it.
You could do.
Go, Owen, do it.
Anyway, right. What beer are we going on first? So yeah, we're obviously doing the Siren Trio. Guess the hop. So in correct order, we're going beer A.
Yep.
If anyone has the beers in front of them, it's the kind of green can.
Looks like this.
Yeah.
I think I've worked it out.
Oh, he's worked out already.
Oh,
Good.
straight in there.
Straight to a guess. That's hard. It's no fun, Andy.
Let's talk about it a
No,
little
I'm
bit
not
first,
gonna-
man.
It's
Come
like Cluedo, right? You can't just go guessing the thing right at the beginning of the game. You got to try and, you know.
I'll say before we get into that, it's a cracking beer. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed
great,
it.
isn't it?
Like, it's delicious.
So in terms of, let's briefly talk about the base beer. It's a double dry hopped IPA, coming in at 5.5%. So it's kind of it's not super hazy. It's got a nice bit of body to it. I think it's just a kind of relatively blank canvas to just present the hops really nicely.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 beers. We've got A, B, and C. It's a competition, Siren Craft Brew, a running great brewery. If you haven't heard of them before, I'm sure you have if you're in the UK. And the idea is that, yeah, you have to kind of submit your guess. And I think whoever wins gets to go along to Siren and do a brew, I think.
Yep.
Not too sure. I think there's a whole bunch of prizes. So what are we thinking then, guys?
I know what it is.
Let's give it a little
Yes.
It's Magnum.
pure Magnum. It's all
Fuggles,
Magnum.
mate.
Straight
It's definitely
Magnum.
Fuggles. It's Fuggles.
Nah. So,
Straight there.
I think we can say it's not English. It's not
but
an English shop.
Definitely not an English shop.
I think it's definitely American. It had an initial bit of piney.
It's a little bit piney. It's a little bit floral.
When I
Weirdly-
first smelled it, I thought it was something really, really obvious, and then the more that I've got into it, the less I'm convinced of that. Like,
Yeah.
See, it's because I've got literally a lager dry hopped with it that I'm like, this has got to be.
okay,
All right. It's got an
interesting.
inside line. I'm kind of when I've tried these beers, these trio beers already, probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I was getting a lot of dank aroma on it. But tonight I'm getting more of a bit more of a diesely note.
Oh. See, as soon as people start saying certain
It's-
words, it then just makes me go, "Oh no, wait,
I
hang
know.
on,
I know.
could it be this one?" And,
It's
yeah,
got that dank sort of American.
there's like a lemony, limey thing on there, but there's also a bit of. I know it's weird to say this for an aroma, but there's like almost like a creaminess
It's almost.
to it. Maybe that's more in the flavour.
What's it?
There is a little bit of earthy, maybe woody sort of thing in there.
You getting any orange vibes? It's a bit of tropical. It's that.
More
Yeah, there's
tropical than
there's definitely-
citrusy.
Definitely tropical.
It's kind of got that for me. It's got that sort of almost little bit pineapple-y aroma, almost kind of overripe mango.
Yeah.
There's definitely a touch of lime.
Soft
lemon,
tropical
a bit of
fruit.
orangey type thing. But I'm
Getting
getting,
lime?
like Owen, I'm getting just a hint of guava, like a tiny hint.
Wait, see how
Quite
big
a
Alex
guava.
there?
That super like mega ripe pineapple, like almost pineapple sweets kind of pineapple at times.
So,
I'm not getting any of the dankness at all.
on the
I don't-
nose.
I'm not getting any dank.
We're not.
Oh, it's
No, I
like
feel
stick
like
your nose
there's-
in.
I think there's some weediness in there.
It's got that sort of Columbus dankness on
Yes.
the nose.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
Dank.
I've been taking so much CBD these last 3 days. You could probably put a weed plant in front of me and I wouldn't smell it.
So do you want to know what I think it is?
Go on then.
You
I
would
think
start
it's
there.
I think it's Simcoe.
Really?
You wait until the second beer. Yeah, you might think it's Simcoe now.
This is the thing. I feel like I want to have all three of them open at the same
Yeah,
time,
'cause-
so I could
well-
rule certain ones out. But
Mm.
yeah, let's not do
So,
that.
or
I'm going to
Columbus
try and
and-
keep a little bit in the glass and not just
Initially,
nail it
I
all.
thought it might be Columbus. That was my first
Oh,
guess.
I don't think it's
But I-
aggressive enough for that. It's
No,
too.
I
It's
think
too
you're right.
soft.
I think it's too tropically for Columbus.
I
I
think
think
that's
you'd
like
be getting more maybe like grapefruit citrus with Columbus and a lot more pine.
You get a lot of pithiness with Columbus.
I've got
Yeah.
a few
Right.
hops in mind, but I'm really like, yeah, I'm not like definite on any
'cause,
particular one.
I
it's
mean,
missing the cattiness of
And
Simcoe.
at
Isn't
first,
it?
like when I said it, I thought it was something really obvious. At first, I was just like, "Oh, that smells like Citra," but
No.
there's too much
Mm-mm.
other stuff going on in there. And then I was like, "Oh, getting a little bit of woodiness," and I was thinking maybe it's like a Sabro or something like that. Still thinking maybe Sabro, but then I'm also thinking
There's
Brew
no
One
pineapple?
or Cashmere because Brew One is pineapple-y.
I mean, it could.
I don't know.
It could be mosaic. I mean, mosaic is
blueberry.
like
There's no
Mosaic
blueberry.
It's not
presents
blueberry.
I don't
in
think-
like so many different ways.
Well, yeah, yeah. It's one of those, isn't it, where it's like, is that just what the most recent crop of Mosaic tastes like, or
To Andy's point, like he said, oh, Simcoe, it's not catty enough for Simcoe, but I think Simcoe's moved away from being catty.
Yeah,
it's not a Zaka.
And you can get that sort of tropical fruit from Simcoe.
I don't know. I could see it being a Zaka.
Do you know what I think it is?
Not enough pineapple to be a Zaka.
What my original guess after trying them the first time was I thought it was Strata.
I was just about to say,
super dank, a little bit
Strata.
tiny, a little bit tropically.
Oh, it's so tropical. It's actually banging how good that beer is.
I reckon that is Strata. I'm with Owen on this one.
Do you think they are doing a single hop, or do you think they're putting stuff through the kettle and then a big dry hop?
No, it's single hop beer.
Definitely single hop.
It literally says it on a can.
I'm gonna read that again.
So in the chat, we've got some guesses. Harmon Brewing thinks it's Zaka. Luke's countered with there's not enough peach for a Zaka.
Definitely not enough
pineapple.
peach.
It's not Equinox. Equinox, like that green pepper.
Yeah, there's not that herbal green. I mean, it's a little bit herbal, but it's not that really obvious green pepper note that you get with that.
No,
it is most definitely not Idaho 7. I can say that categorically.
It's not pink. There's no pink grapefruit or anything.
No, it's not Idaho 7.
Saying he's picking up orange.
Mm.
Oh, you know what? Strata.
It's a shout.
Is a good shout. That is a really good shout. I didn't even think of that. And again, like now you've said it, I'm like, that could definitely be that. It could.
My first gobful of this just screamed El Dorado, and then I went, nah. Literally in my head, I just went, don't even fucking say it, Chris, because you're going to sound like a bellend.
El Dorado.
The thing is, it has
well,
got some of the stuff that. I think with this, it's because it's that like dank, fairly kind of pungent thing, but it's also like soft tropical fruit.
Strata.
That's why I'm thinking like Strata is the one that kind of matches that probably the best out of the ones that I'm thinking.
We're all going to be face, by the way, while we're doing this, because we're all drinking these beers rather fucking quickly.
Yeah, I was saying I'm supposed to be trying to leave a bit in the glass as well, but.
I mean, it does. So I'm just reading a description for Strata here, which says you get layers of different fruit flavour.
Yep.
Anchored with a dried chili cannabis funk, but does not have any diesel, machine oil, or catty baggage. Rounded tropical plus bright fresh fruit flavours. Whereas I am picking up a bit of a diesely note on it.
I don't get that. I get there's definitely like a kind of pineapple.
El Dorado. I mean, the more I say it and the more I drink it, I don't think El Dorado is too bad a shout. Strata, El Dorado.
I'm not sure El Dorado brings the.
And it's not Sultana, is it? Which is Denali, not Sultana.
Okay,
that's
guys,
that is pine, but it's. This is really soft, but then have they just put in a big, huge whirlpool and a dry hop, and then that's why it's so.
Just do me a little favour. Go on.
Do you want to hear the description from Mosaic?
Go on then.
Complex bouquet of earth, pine, and fruit aromas from berry to mango. Mosaic can present in very different ways, hence the name. So.
And Mosaic and Strata are not exactly a million miles apart, are they?
They're both quite dank.
If you think it can be Strata, then it could definitely be Mosaic by the same argument.
But with a double dry hop of Mosaic, you would expect some blueberry.
I just think the aroma for Mosaic, even if, accounting for different harvests and all the rest of it, I think Mosaic is probably one of the ones where I'd be most confident about picking it out on the aroma. First of all, and it didn't leap out and say sweaty gym bag to me, like with the aroma.
It's like it's like Columbus in a sense, but something else. I don't think it is Columbus. Do you guys know?
Unless they've gone like really left field with something strange. I don't think it's Columbus.
Hmm.
Could be
not
Bramlin Cross.
Could be.
Ah, it could be CF302.
What's that?
Tricky.
None of us have any idea what that is, do we?
It's good. It's not that good.
What about, do you get any sort of diluting juice type, orange diluting juice vibes?
You mean orange
What
squash?
juice?
Mm-hmm.
It means orange squash. It's Scottish. It's a different language, mate.
You're called just
Diluting juice. Is that what you
orange
called
squash. Orange squash. Aye, diluting juice. Aye.
Dilute.
I always keep my diluting juice right next door to my
Say what
smoking
you
tobacco.
see. Say what you see.
It's just so dank, though. This is the every.
I reckon Strata. I don't think this is Mosaic. I think this is Strata. I'd go as far as to say I had a Strata beer from. Who did I have the Strata beer from? Was it Arbor?
Yeah, I think Simcoe.
It was Arbor. Or so, it was Arbor, and this is very reminiscent of that.
Mm-hmm.
See, I've not really messed about with Strata, so I couldn't tell you.
I've
made a
used
few
it, but I
Strata
don't think I've
beers.
ever used it in isolation. So
Mhm.
it's kind of
I'm
one
leaving
of
that
those
in the
where-
glass.
Although I do, I've had the Verdant beers. They're like 20, 40 watt beers or whatever they are. Is there a 10 watt as well? They've got various different strains. I think they're all Strata in those beers, and I'm trying to remember. Like, is it reminding me of that?
So I'm getting
Maybe
catty
it
this
is.
time. I think it's Simcoe.
You think it's Simcoe. So Simcoe is described as fruity and earthy, carrying notes of berry, peach, apricot, and citrus. But also has pronounced aromas reminiscent of pine and woodsy soil. So I can't rule out Simcoe. I'm leaning on Strata, but I couldn't rule out Simcoe or Mosaic. But as I say, you got to wait until the second beer.
And it's like, oh no, the second beer's the blue one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh, and-
it's also beer B, strangely enough.
Oh, and should we talk about your shit beers?
Yeah,
Why not? Why
I
not?
think we
Let's
should.
get to the meat of the affair, shall we? So
Meat.
whilst we continue to
Jerky. Well done, Chris.
to reflect on this beautiful beer from Siren, we want to talk about the not so successful beers that we've brewed over our tenure. What went wrong? And how can we help you guys to avoid it? And I'm going to start out with one that we've talked about on the podcast before. Was my blueberry waffle stout. So
It
where
sounds
do I
brilliant
start?
already.
Where do I
Yeah, it does
start?
actually.
So I'll talk about the inspiration for this beer. I think the inspiration came from a commercial beer. It was
Vocation did that, didn't they? They had that out in the supermarket.
It wasn't a vacation beer.
Okay.
It was.
They've definitely done a blueberry pancake thing themselves, though, but maybe it was somebody else before that.
Trying to remember. I think it was that kind of whole blueberry pancake.
Was it Brew York?
It wasn't Brew York. I'm trying to remember who it was.
Just quick, start naming breweries.
No, it's
Northern
like
Monk.
I think it might have been a New Zealand brewery.
Oh, the
Yeasty
I'm sure
Boys?
yeah, that's it.
Yes, I think it might be a Yeasty Boys
Hold on. Chris.
blueberry waffle stout. Anyway, I took it upon myself to consider the grist, and I made the perhaps not so wise decision to add waffles to the mash. Actual waffles. Now, I don't think that this was the downfall of the beer itself, although I dare say it would have added a fair bit of fat. These were like, the waffles that you can buy that are square and you can put in the toaster? Like the really shit waffles.
The ones you give to your kids.
These weren't high-end Belgian waffles. These were just run-of-the-mill. And I think I put quite a lot of them in. Anyway, all told, I think the biggest problem was the fact that I didn't use fresh yeast. I think I ended up trying to make... I think I made a yeast starter with a yeast that I'd wrangled. And I think in the end, it came out with like a lot of really horrendous off flavors.
Yeah.
I think I probably went wrong with the amount of dark grain in the grist. These were pretty early days, to be fair, my brewing. So it ended up just
More
like
is better.
You had this weird fruity blueberry berry kind of sweet note on the beer, along with a pretty harsh dark grain dryness to it, plus loads of lovely off flavors. So it was, all told, pretty terrible. I think I bottled some and I left it on the shelf for a year or two.
Yeah.
And it ended up sort of semi-drinkable in the end. It just took a lot of conditioning, but most of it went down the old drain.
So what would you change?
Honestly, the biggest lesson there was just making sure you use fresh yeast.
Mm-hmm.
I have not kind of wrangled yeast all that much.
Now, when you say wrangled yeast, do you mean like you scooped it off the top, or you took it from a dump sort of thing?
I think I probably sort of took it off the bottom, but I was probably still using like plastic buckets at that time.
Amazing.
And I think it probably had been sat in the fridge for quite a long time.
Yeah, like 3 months.
It was just there was a lot of like real
and then
kind of
I'll just spin it up
errors.
and it'll be all good.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, just because you shove it in the starter doesn't mean to say, and it grows, doesn't mean to say that it's going to be good.
Yeah, because it might not have all the nutrients it needs either, sort of thing.
No, and it will have like mutated, and it will. And if you start with just really poor healthy yeast, no matter what you really do with it, it's going to compromise your beer.
Yeah.
So that was the big lesson for me there. I think I might have even pitched it and then it didn't really take off. And then I might have pitched, like I said, another yeast into it to try and get that to go. And it just ended up like a real horrible fermentation. I think also the other lesson for that beer was just doing a bit more research on grist in terms of getting the right proportion of dark malts. It was probably quite an ambitious beer to create, to do what was quite a big ABV dark beer, adding fruit, adding waffles. It was the classic trying to run before you can walk scenario.
Exactly.
So I think it was a good lesson. Keep your
what
feet
the waffles
on the
even
ground.
brought. Like, you don't even know what crazy off flavors those waffles were bringing.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably all manner of horrible crap in those cheap waffles that, who knows what that probably added.
Because that might have been all your off flavors, and actually your yeast was completely fine. You know what I mean?
I mean, we go back quite a few years here, so it's not exactly fresh memories, but yeah. So that was my first entry to the Hall of Shit Beer fame. The next one, which I know Chris is really licking his chops for.
Is that why you've got your name?
For anyone that's
He'll
following
pop
along
back on the screen.
the
There he
live
is.
chat.
I knew he was going to jump in.
I've added my little tagged my name, Master
Was that-
Hefeweizen Brewer.
You've already done a whole podcast where Chris just
We have.
rinsed you over this, so let's go again.
It's nice
That
to
was
revisit
literally-
the
was
hatred
that-
yet again, though.
Was that not the first podcast I ever recorded?
It was,
might
Owen.
well have been.
And you
Yeah, it
decided
was.
to go, yeah, you know what? Let's introduce Owen. Let's talk about Hefeweizens. What's your experience, Owen? Oh, it's just been dreadful. I am fine to
How
announce that I'm
not to
terrible
brew
at making
Hefeweizens with our special
Hefeweizens.
guest Owen.
Yeah. Cheers, Chris. I think it was fun. No, I'm awful at making Hefeweizens. Every single time I've tried to make a Hefeweizen, it seems to have not come out at all well. I think the worst version I ever made, I attempted to do a ferulic acid rest. Did I
Wow.
pronounce that right?
Ferulic.
Ferulic. So for anyone that wants to know what ferulic acid is, it's a precursor that helps to contribute to the clove flavour.
But does it also help the pH? Does like German brewers not used to use it to actually get the pH lower on their mash as well?
Possibly.
Chris?
No
Don't
idea.
know. Don't know.
Ferulic
It's a
acid
very
rest?
low temperature.
I think it
It's a
is.
very low temperature. I think it's
Mhm.
35 degrees C, something like that. So I was doing step mashing, tried to do this acid rest, and my major pitfall was the fact that I fermented the beer at, I think, 19 degrees. So
It's not wrong,
what I actually ended up with was
Well, it's
just
about
an
more, isn't it?
absolute clove bomb. So I did this acid
No
rest
banana.
to drive more clove flavour, then fermented the Hefeweizen yeast
A little
at
bit lower.
really low temperature.
Yeah.
So I got no banana and just clove, and it ended up tasting like burnt rubber. Like
But
genuinely, I thought I'd scorched something in the process. It tasted that
It is-
bad.
It is worth mentioning, Owen, that you are quite sensitive to clove in your beers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I like a Hefeweizen. I'm not a huge fan of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate commercial versions. Whilst homebrewed Hefeweizens are quite easy to make,
Yeah, cheap.
I don't think they're ever anywhere near as good as the commercial versions.
Yeah, because they'll have that yeast that's constantly alive and living, whereas we're trying to bring it up from a dried or a wet that's maybe been dormant and it's not, it's not in its prime producing all that kind of bubblegum banana type.
Yeah,
Or
I think it's one of
banana
those
type, yeah.
simple beers that you can make easily, but like it's all in the process, isn't it? The detail of like how to, like that Andex beer,
Mhm.
like what have they been doing for however many 100 years that has got them to the point where they can produce that flavor profile consistently, which is, as you said, Owen, fucking, million miles away from any kind of homebrewed hefe that I've ever managed to produce for sure. So yeah,
I
like
think-
to know.
I think it's a relatively simple beer to produce. I think the fermentation is where the magic happens with most beers, right? And I think that's the bit that really takes a lot of care. And I think it's probably a simple beer to learn, but quite a complex beer to master.
Hmm.
To your point, Tricky.
Getting the body.
And
A bit like
I've
every
neither-
single
I've-
German beer.
I've neither
Totally.
learnt them nor mastered them. And I think the realization, I actually continued to try and brew them because that says a bit about my character that I don't like to be. I don't like to kind of be done over.
You don't like
Damn you,
blues,
Hefeweizen, I will
I'm
defeat you.
Exactly, I'm going to keep going at it. And then I think I got to a point where I made one that was all right. And then I came to the realization that, you know what, I don't think I like Hefeweizen enough to have a whole keg of it.
Totally.
And then I gave up after that. I'm like, actually, I'm not sure I really like this beer
Yeah.
style that much. So why am I pursuing this?
You got there
absurd
and went, I don't really want a keg of this. What
out
Yeah.
of pure ego? Yeah, like, oh, actually, no, I don't really like this.
The
that
banana
much.
beer.
So there you go. There was that was the walk down memory lane on my Hefeweizen journey.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a blast making them, mate. I think that's the first thing. It sounds like you really enjoyed the journey, if not, the end
Yeah.
result. It's a bit like walking to prison, isn't it? Sometimes the walk can be quite picturesque. It's the being locked in a cage at the end that sucks. Yeah, I have to say, every cloud, yeah. I think doing a ferulic acid rest is probably not really required.
For
and
us.
I think 19 degrees. I mean, you're 4 degrees away from where you should be generally, aren't you?
Is it that high, Chris? Or is it
Depends on the
20,
yeast, though, doesn't it? Because there's lots of variation with the different yeast strains as to where the window is, and it can be like, not even a whole degree's difference can make a huge.
Oh no, half a degree
change.
is quite often a lot of difference for the Hefe yeast, yeah. But the first thing you got to remember is you got to underpitch. You got to stress that yeast.
Yeah.
Like Brett said in the chat, you've got to stress that yeast. And once you've stressed that yeast, as long as you hold the temperature at roughly the right. To be fair, if you're brewing a Hefe, 21.5 to sort of 22.5 is for me the sweet spot. That gives you your best flavor. So fair play.
And use what's the Amiga yeast, Chris?
With what strain is that, Chris? I think that's the window.
Oh.
Well, to be fair, there's multiple yeast within that window. The Mangrove Jack's Hefe
Weinstefana one is
Weinstefan's 21.5 because
the Amiga one was pure banana.
The Amiga one I found, I think it was 22. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to find my notes, and it's in the house.
I know I'm away to look on Brew.
But there's a few out there. The Mangrove Jack's one is a very, very good, very simple yeast to use. Mangrove Jack's is really nice.
That was my favourite dry Hefe yeast that I've tried.
Oh, it's a good one.
There's a few that are really not that great.
Yeah, you could pitch 3/4 of a pack of the Mangrove Jack, 23 litres at 5%, and it gives a very nice profile.
OYL021.
Yeah, 21.
21. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the Hefe yeast to use.
It's a lovely yeast. It is, we've had him on the podcast a few times, Lance, and to be fair, that is probably in my top 2 favourite yeast that he makes. Kolsch one and that one. Very nice.
Because you recommended it to us, Chris, and I did a double batch and I pitched the liquid with it, so it was stressed. And I went with the temp recommendations you said, and it was like pure banana.
It's a good yeast.
Bubblegum banana type thing going on. It was beautiful.
It is a lovely one. Just don't do a ferulic acid rest unless you really like cloves.
I know.
Yeah, I think you could afford to feed that into making a Hefeweizen, but I think you probably want to offset it with perhaps a slightly higher fermentation temperature.
Really push that
up. If you're upping the clove precursors, so you'll get more clove flavor compound, then you probably want to up the firm temp to try and drive more banana, and overall you just end up with more ester flavor.
Well, you'd want to underpitch and drive the temp.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
I can't remember the last yeast starter that I made for a Hefe. I think the recommendation was something ridiculous, like 140 billion cells. And I think I ended up
pretty low, isn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty low. I think I ended up pitching even under that. I think I ended up going in at about 100 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
for a 5 gal.
So in theory, if you get a relatively fresh pack of wet yeast, you don't even really need to do a starter, right? You could just
you can just pitch it direct.
Yeah.
I've found with oh god, which one was it I used? I think it was the Y yeast one. I ended up using mine when the Y yeast pack was 2 months old, and that seemed to be a very, very good pitch rate, whatever it was. Stressed the hell out of it. I got shitloads of banana, shitloads of bubble gum. And I also ended up with that really nice kind of cloves in the background with the fruity front end with the bubblegum overtone. It was really nice. It was a good yeast. It's good yeast. I haven't brewed a Hefe in so long.
That would be a good name for a beer. Cloves in the background.
Because that's where you want them in it, Owen, not in the foreground, right?
Correct. Yeah. In fact, in my case, I had clove in the background and the foreground.
And you were carrying two carrier bags full of them.
And every ground. Yeah.
Every ground.
Do you want to hear more about terrible experiences with Weissen style beers?
Oh, please, fill us in. I've
got another one. Yeah, so I decided to make a Dunkelweissen, partly inspired by my co-host, Tricky, who sent me a Dunkelweissen, which was
based on
absolutely lovely.
Based on your previous experience, what could possibly go wrong?
I didn't even contemplate that point, to be honest, Chris. I should have, but I didn't. So, yeah, I decided to make a Dunkelweissen. I was brewing this to enter it into a competition. I can't remember which competition it was. Might have been the Nationals, might have been something else, can't remember. But I went a bit avant-garde on the grist. Let me tell you about it.
By avant-garde, you mean you fucked it right up?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So if you're going to make a Dunkelweissen, typically it's going to be wheat malt, some Munich malt, if not dark Munich, maybe some Cara Munich, and something to add some colour, like a Carafa 2, or some sort of dark malt, right? My recipe was wheat malt, floor malted Pilsner, Vienna malt, dark Munich, flaked wheat, light crystal, toasted wheat flakes, and some chocolate malt. So what's that? 8 different
That's a fucked
malts.
up grain bill.
Yeah. I think the toasted wheat flakes was where I went wrong. If I was going to pinpoint it anywhere. So anyway, entered it into the competition. The feedback I can summarize as
what the fuck?
I can summarize in one phrase. Tastes like an ashtray. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a great beer.
Wow.
So again, I think like my advice to people out there is if you get past 4 or 5 malts in a recipe, just take pause for thought.
There's got to be a reason, hasn't there, for like putting that much in? Like,
yeah,
you don't see it very often in commercial recipes. It's very unusual to see a malt bill that's that busy, unless it's either a seriously big beer or, I mean, probably the one that's always surprised me is the Hokum Stomp recipe in terms of like how much goes into that. But it's it's a big kind of chewy porter, so it's all kind of makes sense to an extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as you say, you've just got to like think, what is that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th malt in there for? Is it bringing anything, or is it just muddling stuff up a little bit?
I would agree, and especially I think in a recipe you've never brewed, I think if you're getting into 10th iteration of a beer, I think it's best to just start simple and then add something in and then go, okay, what's that adding? Like if you taste your beer and go, I think it needs some more complexity, it needs another dimension, I think it could be better if I added another layer of flavour, add something in. If you're writing a recipe off the bat, do not include 8 different malts. just good homebrewing advice right there. So yeah, there was a humbling moment. Yeah, hasten to add that saw the drain as well. Shall I do my final one? And then we can get on to Siren Beer 2.
This feels kind of brutal, doesn't it? Just like making you go through all of your worst beers in one go.
This feels
well,
like
sinking amazing beer.
Exactly.
It feels like
Why do I even bother?
That's so good.
I'm a home brewer, and here's my story. Thanks for listening to me. It feels like confessions of a home brewer. So, some of you might remember, for those long-standing listeners, after we got back from LCBF, London Craft Beer Festival, in 22, our beer of the festival, I know was for me and Chris, was the sour beer from Omnipollo, which was like a creme brulee sour beer, Palermo, which is an amazing beer. If anyone can get your hands on it, really lovely. I decided to try and replicate that. So I decided I was going to make a creme brulee style beer. And I think it was one of those real impromptu brew days. You know, when you decide that you're going to brew at 4 p.m. and you're going to brew it that evening. It's never a good start to a brew day if you're deciding to brew like 2 hours before you start getting on with it, right? And I think the brew day went okay. And I'm trying to remember what I did with it. That in short, I think it was like I put quite a lot of lactose in it, and I fermented it out. I think I dual pitched a yeast, a normal sack yeast, with a Philly sour. So
This is recent.
Like 2 dried packets.
It's about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And in short, it just didn't come out sour at all.
Oh, that's Philly sour can be funny like that.
Yeah, so I think the lesson there was, if you're going to co-pitch
just
Philly sour, I'm not sure you can really co-pitch Philly sour. I think you've just got to use Philly sour.
Yeah.
And that is basically it. So
and here's a warning with Philly sour is make sure your temperature doesn't drop. So I think at the time I was having issues with my temp probe with the new craft beer system that I'd just built for it, and the temp went. And then what happened was when the temp drops for Philly sour, it then turns off sour mode, and then when you put it back on again, it's almost like it's just normal sort of fermenting. So yeah, you have to be overly careful with your temperatures with Philly. Yeah.
And Luke Stevens just reminded me, because he's got a better memory than I have, I think I pitched it onto a yeast cake of Philly sour, which I don't think Philly sour does well, second gen.
Not at all.
So I think that might have been the issue, and I think I might have also pitched like some other dried yeast on top of it. Hasten to add, it ended up just coming out as some sort of really weird, not sour, lactose infused beer, which is not what I wanted at all. So the lessons there are: plan your brew day, don't be a dickhead, don't repitch or attempt to use Philly sour on a second gen. There you go. There's my shit beers for today. Thanks for listening to me.
Isn't that literally a sort of a rule for life? Don't be a dickhead.
Yeah.
It's basically religion in one statement. Don't be a dick. If what you're doing you think could make you a dick, don't do it. If someone tells you you're being a dick because you're doing something, then don't do it. That's it. That's life.
I think that's a good rule. I'd agree with that, Chris. I think it might be slightly disingenuous to religion. I think there might be an element of spirituality mixed in there, but
Not at all.
In essence, yeah, don't be a dick. It's a good rule for
Just
life.
stole everything for the pagans, mate. Okay.
But they were very spiritual too.
Siren Beer B. Okay, it's B because it's in a blue can. Tricky's drunk most of his. I'll be honest, I'm not far behind him. This is a lovely beer.
Interesting difference in clarity. Anyone else notice that?
It's super clear.
Way brighter than the last one. I mean, it actually looks hazier than it is in
glass,
but
it's super clear.
Yeah, you can see it probably better with your one, Andy, actually, if you put that up to the camera. Yeah, look at that. Much clearer. Which raises the question, because we've talked about different hops and how they can impact on haziness, assuming that these beers are all brewed, same process, same grist, everything else. You know, the hop can be the only thing that's influencing the haziness, so you can see between the two there's maybe, quite a big difference due to what I can't remember what it is in the hops that makes some more prone to haziness than others. Is it? I don't know. I can't remember the word for it. Chris?
Polyphenols or something?
Polyphenols,
I mean, it could have just come down to like when they dry hopped it.
I know this.
Even if it was like a matter of hours different or a day different. Or the fermentation just went a little bit quicker and they dry hopped it the same day as before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's blue. Let's taste it. That's my intro. It's blue.
It's blue. It's B.
So I get way more citrus off of this. Much more traditional American grapefruity, pithy citrus.
Really?
To me, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first thought as well. Definitely more citrusy, less tropical, but very similar to the first one.
I'm way
in so much as the level of kind of pine and a little bit of grassiness and
piney dank.
Are you getting any white
to it still?
You're not getting any white. That sort of white grape. It's almost like Nelson, but it's not.
Oh, fuck's sake! See what I mean? Like as soon as somebody says something, I'm like, hang on a minute.
Right, but it's not Nelson.
There's no lime in this at all that I'm tasting. None whatsoever.
I'm getting more like possibly like lime rind, but that's just a kind of more a rindy aroma.
Right now, here's where I'm going then. So what's like Nelson but not Nelson?
Hallertau Blanc.
Well done.
Rebecca.
I think this is Hallertau Blanc.
This is Australian.
I think it's German Hallertau Blanc.
No chance. Not even
Can't
close.
see it
Because it's not. Well, when I've used Hallertau Blanc in the past, it's like Nelson, but it's got this. It's like this basically.
The difference between this and Hallertau Blanc is I'm not getting any meadow. I'm not getting any of that meadow nature to this. And that is an absolute characteristic of Hallertau Blanc for me. There's no floweriness.
I just think it's too pungent and potent.
But then I think it's big dry hops. Because when you ever do Hallertau
Andy,
Blanc,
they'd need to put an entire fucking harvest in to get this flavour. Hallertau Blanc's like 7%, mate. There's,
I think this is Ruaka. Now that you've sent me down the New Zealand hop
you guys
route,
getting lime?
I think it's Ruaka.
It's Australia, New Zealand, it's New World. I'm getting a touch of lemon. I'm getting a touch of like limey kind of almost. I'm not getting any like super floral, so it's not German for me. German hops are characterized by the fact that they look like a fucking they smell and taste like a German meadow. Every single one of them. There's not a single one that doesn't.
Is there any gooseberry? That gooseberry thing?
Nah.
Do you think it's like Nelson?
It could be. I mean, to be fair, Brett put in Pacific Jade.
Nah.
And I don't think that's a bad shout. I think this is definitely from that part of the world. There's a characteristic that you get to New World hops, and this has that characteristic. The reason why I said Australia is because I don't think it has the punchy lime that I always get from New Zealand.
Yeah. Which makes me think Hallertau Blanc.
Because that well-known Australian hop.
German.
Yeah,
it's too strong. It can't be.
It is too much. This is no fucking way.
I think it is.
I'll tell you what I'm getting from it.
Could it be Vec's Secret?
It's Rawaka, man. I'm telling you.
There's not enough peach.
Could it be Eclipse?
Look says it definitely. It's Nelson.
Possible.
It is kind of Nelson.
Forward, sweet mandarin, citrus peel, and fresh pine needles.
I'm not getting any pine on that at all.
Mm-mm. I get what when I made the wee Vienna from the Hallertau Blanc, that's what I'm getting. It's almost like Nelson, but it just doesn't have
Rawaka. Aromas of passion fruit, grapefruit, lemon, and tropical fruits. Powerful grapefruit, citrusy character.
No.
Oh, I think it's Rawaka.
Is it grapefruity enough?
I don't think it's grapefruity enough. I mean, to be fair, I've still got a glass left, so it's clearly not Australian.
It's not Australian.
Because it would have eaten the fucking glass.
Because it's not like dissolving my teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it actually tastes nice.
It's not Nelson. It's not fucking Nelson.
It's not Nelson.
It could be. It could be. I think for me, it's Nelson or Rawaka. I think it's one of those.
Maybe it is Nelson. But I think between me, it's Nelson. Well, Hallertau Blanc.
What makes you think it's not American?
Literally just because Andy said like something that made me think New Zealand, and now I've completely like just dived down that rabbit hole.
I'm not necessarily.
I can't get it out of my head
that
now.
much of a white grape thing. I'm not.
Which makes me think it's more like Hallertau Blanc.
I'm getting more like citrus than white grape.
I'll be honest with you. Initially, on my first mouthful, I said Cascade. Kohatu?
No, I was thinking same as you, Chris. Initially, aroma and taste, I was like Simcoe or Cascade. And that's why I was saying like I was thinking traditional American sea hops. But yeah,
tricky.
As soon as Andy said fucking grapes or something, I was just like, no, wait, it's fucking New Zealand.
Tricky. Kohatu. New Zealand Cascade Kohatu. Get it up and read the description.
It could be.
Tricky, you've used Nelson quite a lot.
I'm getting grapefruit in this, which
and again, like I said about the mosaic, Nelson. I feel like if it was Nelson, to me, like the two hops that I feel like I'd most confidently pick out on aroma in a single hop beer would probably be Nelson or mosaic. And I didn't instantly think Nelson, but I do think there is a little bit of grapiness in there now, so it's like, yeah, could be.
It's
so tough.
Because I don't think it's Nelson. That's why I'm like, what's like Nelson, and it's been Hallertau Blanc, and it's because I did a wee Vienna when we were doing that live brew day stuff, and I swapped out the Nelson for Hallertau Blanc because it's quite cheap actually, but it brings a lot of the same characteristics as Nelson, which is it's pretty much like this. So
I have used it, but a long time ago.
Guys,
never had it as single hop beer.
What about Waiti?
No.
I've not used any of these.
I don't
There's
know,
not
man.
as much pine from Waiti, and this doesn't have a lot of pine, but it does have tropical fruit and a tiny little hint of pine needles. I reckon this might be Waiti.
I don't think they would have gone that left field.
Waiti's a fucking lovely hop, mate.
Yeah, I realise that, but most people haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
Has anyone got, what's his name, Sean on Facebook? Just get him on.
Dial him in.
So
I think Kahatu or Waiti.
You guys obviously are you gonna put your answers in for this so that you can go and do the Siren? Yeah.
So when I get all three wrong, everybody can laugh at me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm going to sort of set us back on a different road here. Simcoe?
Nah.
No. Not enough cat piss, and I've drunk most of the glass.
Initially, again, I was thinking Simcoe. It's mad how, like, literally just one word in your head will make you suddenly go, oh, no, I'm getting something totally different now. But
yeah,
I can't.
No, it's not Waiti.
I can't get away from Ruwaka now, I think.
You've used Ruwaka, haven't you?
The Diesely thing as well. That's definitely a calling card for Ruwaka, I think.
Tricky, you've used it.
Is anyone?
Yeah, I've used
guys,
it.
are any of you guys getting aroma and flavour of kumquat in this?
I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I've never had kumquat.
I mean, kumquats are super bitter, right?
Fairly.
So, yes, but that's possibly
remove the bitterness.
A bit bitter.
Remove the bitterness and just pull some into your mouth and just suck some air through it, and then tell me it does not taste of kumquat.
It tastes like a Latte Blanc. I was so sure when I first tasted it. I was like, fuck, I've had a beer just like this.
Chris, it's been 25 years since the last time I ate a kumquat. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, I had cum.
I was going to say, Brett had some of that last weekend, didn't he, from Brooksy?
Yeah, that's it. They had their date night. Love it.
Don't know. Anyway, shall we continue to?
Some shit beers, don't we?
Yeah, let's get back. Right, Chris, your turn.
Mine are fairly straightforward. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, so the first absolutely shit beer that I ever made was I attempted to use the absolute bastard child of every shite hop that's ever been grown in the entire world. It's worse than fucking Galaxy, and it is Enigma. Enigma is an absolute sack of shit, and his only use should be clogging up your drain.
Ivan's going to love this podcast, isn't he?
It is.
Fuck Australian hops. Fuck them.
Yeah, like, fuck all of them. So, it was... Oh, calm down. Take a breath with your fucking weird shit hat on.
I just want to come back on the
Go on, then.
The Australians, so I think the Australians keep all the best hops for themselves, and then they just fucking send out the shite.
They're probably just imported Argentinian hops or something. Anyway,
I mean, it's a weird commercial way of doing business, Andy. But
yeah,
you're not going to sell much, are you?
No, because I like.
So,
Chris,
with that beer, the Enigma and Kashmir IPL, I got massive, harsh, bitterness. It was painful. Okay, it did not fucking calm down. It just kept going. It was so horrific. I never did anything wrong in the brew. What I did wrong was to use Enigma. If you have any Enigma, its only use should be clogging your drain. It is horrific. Okay?
Kashmir's a good one, though, Chris, isn't it?
Kashmir's a banger. Kashmir is one of my favourite hops. But, no. Fuck Enigma. Fuck everything from Australia. You can keep your fucking spiders, right? You can keep all your fucking snakes. You can keep the koalas, which when they say any kind of noise, sound like a demon from the depths of Hades, right? You can keep all that shit. Enjoy your wonderful beaches, but fuck you and your wildlife and your shitty ass hops, all right?
I think the Aussie hops, you really need to just lower your amounts and use it as
and expectations.
Hop. Yeah,
well, lower your amounts,
Chris. It
and
sounds,
your
a
expectations.
lot like you're sort of deflecting your this point.
No,
of conversation
to be fair,
onto,
what I did wrong was
it's the fault of Australia.
Absolutely,
it came out bad.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
no, the actual issue was I put Enigma in the boil. That's what I did. That was where I fucked up.
Well, yeah.
I put some in at 10 minutes. I don't know why I did it based on the fact that I knew how much beta was in it. And I put it in at 10 minutes and it just went, have all the bitterness in the world. And it was horrific. It was a horrible, horrible up. So the point to take away from this, the learning experience from this story is always know your hops, know how much alpha and how much beta is in it, and make sure that you fucking plan where you're going to put it in your brew day to an appropriate point.
But then you need to make these mistakes first.
Like I did. I've made the mistakes so you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably Ruaka. Anyway, the second gigantic fuck up that I made was I made my very first milk stout. And I got some lactose and I made this and I wanted it to be really milky.
So right?
I wanted it to be really, really creamy. So I used way too much lactose. Yeah, and because I wanted it, it was a kilo. And because I wanted to try to balance it out, I put a load of like roasted barley in because it was the only dark grain that I had in at the time. So what I ended up with was a 4-day brewed coffee with fake fucking milk in it. It was horrific. Such a cloying, horrible sweetness and a massive amount of really harsh, astringent bitterness that did not age out.
Should have put some salt in, mate.
My drains have never been as clean. I didn't know about the salt trick back then.
That's true.
My drains were clean when that one had gone. In fact, I'm fairly sure that's the reason why
is that
the local council. No, I've made 2 since then, but I didn't.
Okay.
But the local council had to replace a load of drains at the bottom of our road when they go down to the main sewer. Fairly sure that beer was the reason. Dissolved all the porcelain.
I bet you that's why my drains are all blocked. They'll go like thing, and it'll just be like full of hops and stuff like that.
That's what it is, man. Now this one
great though, right?
Oh, great, outstanding. So this one is going to make pretty much every single one of you laugh because I know that you've all brewed high ABV beers, and I know that you're all, especially Owen, quite partial to a dipper. Andy is quite partial to a dipper. Tricky will drink a dipper every now and then. Personally, fucking hate them, and this might be the source of it. My first ever attempt at a dipper was an IPA base that I had made before, which was really nice. And what I did was I ramped everything to 23. I went way past 11. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it was an absolute car crash. I have never had a beer that I poured down a drain as fast in my life. It was, first off, for my palate, it was 90-something IBUs.
Yeah, way too
which much. You would have thought would have balanced off that alcohol burn. Nope. It was essentially a tipper because I didn't understand at the time where a dipper started and a tipper started, so I couldn't really aim for it. So it was 9.4%. I've actually got the notes in front of me. It was 9.4%, And honestly, it should have been way higher on the IBUs, but I used the wrong hop. So I had a bag. I had a bag in my shed which had Magnum in it. Before I bought my kilo, it had Magnum in it. And next door to that, I had a bag which had Saz in it. This is why you should never trust your kids to weigh out your bitter in hops. Okay? So what's happened is I need 27 grams of Magnum weighing into that beaker, please, Oscar.
Hold on. You're blaming the kids now?
Yeah.
I didn't weigh out the
Everyone
hops.
else's fault.
I didn't weigh out the hops.
There is lack of accountability coming from
Right?
people.
So basically,
Sharing.
Oscar weighed out the wrong hop. So I bittered with Saz, and essentially it came out like this really weird bitterness, which was quite astringent. And I think that might have been because I was going to put some Saz in at 15 minutes. And I think that's
we're
when
still
he
talking
weighed out
about the
Magnum.
dipper. You
Yes.
were bittering
Yes.
a dipper with SARS.
No, I was bittering it with
Magnum.
fucking Magnum, Tricky. Oscar weighed out the wrong hop. So I've put the Magnum in at 15 minutes.
Have much fat in the
Calm
sack,
Definitely
though.
yourself
not Chris's fault, Tricky. Definitely
Calm
not
down.
Chris's fault.
No, I'm gonna take-
No
I
way it
will
was Chris's
take-
fault.
No.
Fucking hell, guys. Come on. It was totally my fault because I didn't supervise at the right point in time. So what I've basically ended up with was a tipper with a massively harsh alcohol burn, which I couldn't drink because the Magnum had been put in at 15 minutes and it just tasted a bit wrong.
Well, Magnum.
None of you are
Live-
buying that,
live-
are you?
Live
None
and
of you?
learn.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised you decided. What possessed you to brew a dipper out of interest?
That's must be
Because I'd never brewed one.
Yeah.
So you were just like, it was the unknown, the intrigue of the unknown. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why'd you go to bed with a Polish bird?
They just wanted a
Can.
super strong beer to get mad with it.
To be
One
fair,
of the
yeah.
bevies.
Now, here's the next one. Very short sentence. You ready for this one? Every single time I've tried to bottle a hoppy beer.
Okay.
Ooh.
Can we just leave that one there?
When we say hoppy, what level of hoppiness are we talking here? And
Neeper.
do we mean bottle
Neeper.
conditioning specifically?
Yes.
Yes. Just to clarify exactly.
Massive
what we were
error.
saying there. Yeah.
And then the last one, which was fucking brilliant, was my first and only attempt at a fruited cider, which was a blackberry, gooseberry, and apple cider. Okay, this beer, I
Are we
didn't
talking
fucking.
turbo cider here?
No, we're talking actual cider made with an actual cider yeast. Okay.
Right.
No, that's still. But was it? But Owen saying double cider is like when you just get cartons of juice and all that.
No. This
Did
was.
you get?
crushed-
You get the press?
I had a scratter and a press. Yes, I used it
Right,
once.
okay.
Now, this drink developed its own ecosystem, language. It had an elected government, right? There were evolved life forms within this fermenter that had their own separate language to the main language of the other life forms.
Sure.
I would not recommend that you take blackberries off of a bush at the side of a railway line and smash them down and put them into your cider. Just a pro tip for everyone.
Right, Chris. You should have put in probably a Camden tablet.
You're 3
kill
years
it.
too late with this advice, Andy.
So that you
For our
weren't getting any of
listeners.
those natural. Yeah, for our listeners, I would have put
3
I
years too
recommend-
late.
If you want it clean and you don't want to run this, then Camden tablet, and then kill any, and then come back later and then pitch your cider yeast, and it'll be clean. I
Or
think.
just do what I did with every other fruited beer that I've made from actual fruit, which is boil it and make compote.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
I fucked that one up.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of envisaging the train kind of emptying their septic tank as they went past this blackberry
It's
bush.
quite possible. It's quite possible. Literally, it had its own language. I'm pretty sure I saw a car driving around in it. It was that evolved. Yeah,
Shitty
it was horrific.
blackberries.
I will never do that again.
Stick to beer, mate. Stick to beer.
Yeah. That's basically what I decided at that point in time. I'm never, ever, ever doing that again.
So
yeah,
in summary,
learn from me.
In summary, then, don't use Australian hops. Don't get your children to weigh out your bittering hops. Don't use lactose ever.
And don't brew with Chris because he'll blame you for anything that goes wrong.
Absolutely. There we go. Number 4.
Don't try and bottle
Take that
condition
one.
an EPA.
Yep. There we go. I mean,
don't
learning.
Harvest shitty blackberries.
Where's Andy fucked off to? He's supposed to be introducing this beer.
What can I
Come
say?
back, man. Come back.
He's gone to get a new glass. Bless him.
Can't get the fucking staff these days, can you?
You can't.
Is it because I'm announcing the next beer?
Yes, get on with it.
That's a nice hat you're wearing, Andy.
Oh, thanks very much.
That dog on the front.
Yeah, it's Drunk Delilah Brewery. It was sent to me by a very kind person who'd left a nice note for the postie saying how I'd had my balls snipped recently.
How he's never fucking brewed a beer in his life either, has he?
Heart gold.
But he's very generous, just like you, Chris.
No, he's a top bloke. He's Stewie. He's just never brewed anything, so I don't get why he's got that false advertising on his hat.
Oh, do you know what? Right, so
he has brewed, just very, very infrequently.
Yeah, but I like drinking beer.
Anyway, go on.
Right, yeah. So we're doing the next one. It's just Guess the Hop, BRC, Mystery Hop, Double Dry Hop, IPA, and this right off the bat. I've never smelled anything like this, guys. I'm going to say it right now.
You're muted, Owen.
I thought I'd unmuted. I said I want to just see your reaction as soon as you smell this beer.
This beer
for me, it was just an instant. Like I knew exactly what it was.
Oh, that's cool. So you've actually used this?
Oh yeah. I mean, like for me, it was like just standout. It was like I know what that is.
It's like tangerine.
This is easy.
It's nectarine, sort of citrus sabro.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
Harmon's got it in one. Are you not getting coconut, creamy?
To be honest, I got a really floral sort of thing off of it initially, and I got a kind of almost a rose.
I get that. See if you take a tangerine skin and you juice it, right?
I'll tell a lie. Actually, I didn't.
Sure.
My first reaction, which I was adamant was right, was Talus, which you tend to get that sagey, creamy, sometimes a bit of coconut, but pink grapefruit. Which, smelling it again now, I'm thinking, actually, that's not too far off the mark. But then I moved towards Sabro.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the two. It's Sabro or Talus.
See, the problem with Sabro for me is I've always brewed it as a combination with other hops. So now that you taste it,
I mean, it's got so much of that, like coconut sun cream smell.
Luke, have you got this beer?
Yeah.
There you go.
Mint.
As soon as Luke tastes it and he goes, it's fucking mint, it means it's Sabro. Game over. I don't even need to drink it. Wonderful.
Yeah, mint all over.
I got Centennial vibes off of the aroma.
You mean a bit of mint?
But yeah,
It's
coconut.
definitely not Centennial.
Coconut.
Yeah.
It's
so
like literally
creamy.
someone's grated a tangerine skin and it's like popping like that sort of zest.
I can't see past that really herbaceous mint coconut creamy thing. I do agree with you, Andy, though. It's definitely got a very like sweet citrus aroma.
Yeah, I do think there's pink grapefruit in there, which is something that I do get from the. Well, I was going to say flipping between Sabro or Talus. That's but I think I find
flavour.
Talus a little bit more spicy as opposed to the
Yeah,
the creamy thing
that's
Yeah.
not.
you get with this. This is very smooth, sort of.
That's
This is
Sabro.
pure cream coconut.
Absolutely,
but
100% guaranteed. Nailed on. Write it on your fucking sheet.
Have you tried it,
Sabro.
Chris? You
Yeah.
got it. Yeah.
I've just had half a
That
bag
was-
of beef jerky, but this is Sabro.
Oh,
That was my conclusion. Was definitely Sabro.
Nailed on. Write it on your sheet. Job done.
I just get so much, and look, they put the can as orange as well.
So Sabro, the aroma can be described as tangerine, coconut, tropical fruit, and stone fruit with slight hints of cedar and cream.
There you
Doesn't
go.
mention mint. And that's that's basically the definition of what we've just described, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tangerine, coconut, tropical fruit.
Three like hops, whatever they actually are, that can fucking carry a single hopped hazy, beer very well. I've got to say, these have all been like
Outstanding.
not
Very
just
drinkable.
not just like beers that are interesting to drink for the purpose of this, but beers that I would happily buy again,
Ooh.
as just as they are for, and really good. Well, again, whatever they turn out to be, the hops they've chosen are really good, like standout hops to use in a single hop beer. So, because there's a lot of hops that probably wouldn't, be that impressive if they put them into this kind of recipe, I reckon. But good choices.
Have you guys got any of the second beer left?
Yes.
Nope.
Nope, it's gone.
So if you smell the beer C and then you go back to beer B,
It's radically different. And I get more of the diesel thing, so I'm still convinced Rawaka on that. It's made me think even more so that that's Rawaka now.
I see what you mean about talking about. I've never really described something diesel, but like when you get that when you're filling up the car, sort of.
Yeah.
There's a
That's a
Duratec
mad
engine in
driver.
there somewhere.
yeah,
I've still got a little bit of the first one left.
TDCI.
no, I've sculled the first one.
Blue motion.
I'll tell you
This
something.
video- thi-
If
this
if
video
that,
is
It's blue
mostly-
motion.
if that last beer is not Sabro, I want to know what the fuck it is. If Luke
It's
says it
definitely
tastes like
Sabro.
mint, it's Sabro. And as
It
soon
is
as I
hands
smelt it,
down.
I went,
No
Sabro.
doubt, it is Sabro.
cool,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
going to
no
eat my
doubt in
biscuits.
It's definitely like the more I smell this, the more that like slightly woody kind of,
Cedar
because
thing comes out.
it's not just coconut.
What
It's
one's
almost
this?
like coconut
Oh,
shell, seed, woody sort of.
That's.
Yeah,
I'm just
It
kidding.
is-
Honestly,
it's so distinctive, isn't it? Like,
I literally get that pith of tangerine pith. It's like
It's big tangerine. Though. I mean, they've used that Sabro so beautifully.
oh yeah, I
To
was going to
bring
say
out-
like
bring out that
sometimes
tangerine.
the Sabro can kind of go a little bit too far to the woody or the coconut side, but this is a really nice balance of the and again maybe it's just a really like they've chosen this on the basis of testing the hops beforehand and going what at the current harvest what's really good and is going to work great in this series perhaps.
And
but
does Siren not get to choose their hops now? Do they not get to do hop selection?
I don't
Do
know.
they?
Um,
I always think, right, see how if you jumped on the Citra bandwagon where we all bought the 5 kilo bags of Citra, right? The difference of that Citra to any other Citra I've had is like, it is really good Citra and it was destined obviously for a brewery. I'm like, see, like Siren and all that, how are they getting better than what we get? And when you ask, like, you ask our sponsor, the Malt Miller, they'll say, no, you're getting the same thing. But I'm still at, is it? You've got that, I've got
To
that
be
doubt.
fair, there's probably one less step involved between. So breweries are going to be getting bags, in 5 kilo?
Mm-hmm.
Get it in 5 kilo bags, right?
So
it's not
fresh.
bigger.
Uh,
That's basically for home brewers. There's a company in the middle that are getting a massive bag, and then they're repackaging it. So,
but Malt Miller did hop selection as well. Last year, didn't they? I think. So,
So there's an element that
but then
there's a small amount of
but who picks
oxygen
first?
exposure. That could slightly degrade the quality, but I think there's probably a bit more romance in it, to be honest, Andy.
Yeah. And the other thing is if you ever had bad hops from Malt Miller, possibly not. So
I think there's probably a bigger element of us as homebrewers buying a kilo bag, using it once, putting it back in the freezer for 5 months, and then using it again and expecting it to be amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas breweries are getting through the hops.
Yeah. You open
and
that
they're
bag.
Just fresher.
Like that Citra.
Bag's done.
You open that bag and the whole
That's a batch.
the whole house stank of it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And then we all probably divided it up and repackaged it, and it's gone back in the freezer, and it'll come out again.
And we brewed with it. We brewed with it.
It smells good. Smells good still. Seal it back up. Even if you're using the vacuum sealer or whatnot, it's not going to be the same as that day one, fresh out the bag, like Owen says. Where it's literally gone from the machine to the bag, and it's nitrogen flushed and sealed and all the rest of it. It's makes me wonder why I've got so many fucking hops in the freezer and why I don't just buy them per brew. But what can you do? You convince yourself that it's worthwhile doing it for the costing of it, but it's not necessarily worthwhile doing it for the quality of the hops long term. I mean, I think
if you look at that problem differently, right? Is let's say you save £3 per brew on you buying bulk hops versus would you be willing to pay that extra £3 to have super fresh hops for every brew that you make?
For us, it's worth it, I think.
So
I would say
but
yes.
That's looking at the problem differently, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not.
But then I think
it's a quality
can probably, and for certain beers, be a bit more than that potentially if you were buying it in the, the 100-gram bag versus the kilo bag or whatever. Because I mean, some of them we are looking at like £10 plus for 100 grams.
It's possibly up to about a 40% difference in terms
I think so.
So perhaps it is a bit more.
What did we pay
than that? But I think if you worked it back to per brew on average, it's probably only £3 or £4.
Divided by 10.
Food for thought.
Well, here's the thing, right? So the price we paid per 100 grams of that Citra was £1.20, and you could easily pay between £8 and £10.
Yeah,
if you were buying it fresh. So
that was a one-off price.
That was just silly, and it was
I think sort of what kilo bags go for now for Citra would be 60
40
quid
50
or less. They come down a bit now.
Well, we paid 60 quid for 5 kilos.
We did, for that one time special deal. I do you a nice prize.
That is a good deal.
Oh, it was insane.
It's a shame I didn't make good on that, but I'm not sure I needed 5 kilos.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, you got some.
Nobody needs 5 kilos of Citra.
Owen, you've got some. I actually sent you and Chris some, so you can try it out. There you go.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, live brew day.
Yeah,
13th of April. Be there, do it. Get some Citra in.
Yeah, we make
buy the freshest you can. Pay 10 quid a bag for it.
What is it? Citra IPL?
Yes.
Yes, Citra
cold IPA.
I'm a bit worried though, because Citra, when you use it through the boil, I find Citra can be kind of funny. See if you try some of the older Citra beers, right, that first came out. Like Fine Ales did one, which is called
Jarl,
right, and it's got this sort of astringent Citra bitterness to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to watch. Citra is beautiful if you just whirlpool it and dry hop it, right?
Well,
It's
have we got
similar
anything
to,
in?
don't put Galaxy in the boil.
The
right, or
recipe
don't
isn't
use Galaxy
like
oxide.
I've forgotten what we actually did with the recipe.
Well,
It's the cohumolone content.
It's not got any like early boil Citra, has it? I think.
Oh, did you put it at 10? Actually, you might have put it at 10 minutes. Actually, Tricky.
20 minutes is the earliest, and it's only 10 grams. So.
Yeah, we'll be fine. That's fine.
I think we'll be good.
Right.
What are you actually? What are you using as the 60-minute?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, nothing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So that's good. That's good. Right. Shall we talk about my shit beer?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, go on,
shit beers.
Right. Okay. So.
Regale us.
Yeah. So we did a live brew day, and it was the Pale Fire we did during the COVID years, and I thought it'd be a great idea to add a bit more extra Chinook. And the dry hop, I think, and like Chinook is just absolute. Just do not do it because it's it's just pure.
I had exactly the same thing, didn't we? We were both like, "Is this going to calm down anytime soon?"
Nope.
It's just like Ronseal beer.
It's just enjoy the pain because, and you get used to it. I think after you've had a pint and then you go for a second one, it's not as bad. But it's like. You wouldn't brew that again, and you would go Chinook. What I think Chinook works well, I think, is in maybe a late boil or whirlpool where it can bring that sticky orange sort of thing you get from Chinook. Whereas, just do not dry hop with Chinook. Like,
I don't know. I think you can dry hop with Chinook, but you've got to. It's a deft hand.
You like pine,
you know. Yeah, it's not one of those hops that a bit like Mosaic or Citra or Simcoe, where like more will add more. It's like Chinook is like less is more.
Yeah.
I think you could dry hop. I think with 10-20 grams of Chinook just to add that bit of pine. To your beer if you're wanting to go like West Coast.
I think it's actually like a great hop in combination, like as a kind of base flavor layer. I think it just adds a little bit of like gnarliness to some other stuff that can make it really good. But
and it's beautiful in the boil because you can get that sticky orange.
Yeah,
sort of
it's a
thing
weird
from
one
it.
though, isn't it? Because like some people just love it and they're like, all Chinook all the way through to have 100% Chinook beer, like whatever. And they're like, it's great. And for a lot of people, it's just like, no, that's not working.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember telling the tale of who's the guy that used to make Timmy Jenkins made a Nipah with Chinook and another hop, except he will have done his Nipah recipe, which would have been 250 grams of Chinook.
It was like a 50-50
between
500 gram split.
Yeah, so it would have been
and 250
grams, but somewhere between the whirlpool and the dry hop, and it was a unique beer.
Yeah, imagine
a challenging beverage. I think I had that one as well. To be honest,
yeah, it was definitely a challenge.
So
it's not one of those. It's not a Citra. It's not a Mosaic.
Be super careful with Chinook, and it's a beautiful hop. Don't ever be put off by it. But yeah, just when you're dry hopping with it, be super careful.
Know how to use it.
Yeah. Another one, obviously, Nipah's. So I think Christmas there. I did a, what do you call it? It's like a dipper or whatever. But when you're transferring, what I tend to do is if I'm taking it to a friend's house, then I'll put it in a fresh keg so I don't kick up all the yeast when you put it in the car sort of thing. but I don't think I purged the bloody keg enough. So I transferred it the night before and then took it round. As soon as I poured it, it was like, before it was this lovely bright yellow, and then it was like this sort of, when it's starting to turn sort of thing, and you're just like
muddy brown.
Oh no, and it's that sort of jammy sort of, sometimes it can go. And I think I was kind of a little bit lucky because I'd only just done it the night before. So I kind of got away with it a little bit, although I was just super not happy.
Yeah, it probably tasted all right. It was just the visual thing. Right.
I was a bit gutted because I tried it out the tap and I knew how bright and juicy it was out the tap, and then to fuck it like that, it was just like, absolute gutter. So yeah,
and that's the problem with purging kegs. It's like if you just take an empty keg and stick a gas disco on it, and then you just purge it from the pressure relief valve.
Yeah, it's not as like another down.
You never get all of the oxygen out.
Yeah.
I read an article once that kind of it might have been Brewlosophy actually kind of scientifically tested like how many pulls of the pressure relief ring dissipated the oxygen. So it was like one pull of the ring for like 3 seconds only got rid of 48% of the oxygen. So like I think you had to kind of pull it for 3 seconds like 18 times before you got to kind of a 99 point something percent. Yeah.
You're blasting through a lot of CO2 doing that as well.
Is this why you boys just fill the keg with Star San and then just transfer the whole Star San out?
Yeah. So that's the only real way to.
I'm still not doing that. I'll do like a
properly purge it.
I'll do 5 liters.
I do that, but with the like harvesting the CO2 off of the pressure fermenters.
I'm not.
It's just pushing it out over time, and like you can guarantee by that point if the fermentation is well established. There's only CO2 coming out.
Yeah,
it's not really possible for there to be any oxygen.
Yeah, I need to get ahead clearing my kegs and get
its own headspace sort of thing. So.
How much pressure do you think that adds to the keg to the fermenter though? Doing that tricky, do you think? It must add a fair bit of pressure, right?
It shouldn't. It should equalize all the way through the system, so you should be at the same level as your spunding valve is set still. I think. Yeah.
PV equals nRT. That's all you need to know at this point. PV equals nRT. The bottom line is, yes, there is going to be a resistance, but the resistance is not going to be so much that it's only going to go up maybe 10, 15% at most. So if you've got your fermenter set at 10 psi, the reality is you're probably going to see 11. It's not really that much of a difference. And it's coming out at such a rate that it's only going to be increased pressure for maybe 25, 30 minutes before that keg's cleared. PV equals nRT.
It would push it out that quickly.
I have pushed an entire keg out using Voss at 34 degrees in less than 4 minutes.
Voss is a special case.
Well, that's the only example I've got to go on.
I heard it blew up the keg.
Normally
they found the keg in the North Sea.
I got the book. I got that
went off like a V2 rocket.
I bought the book. Is it Lars? Lars' book.
And
it's that story with that
North Korea was launching a missile at
Have you boys
Yorkshire.
read the Lars book?
No.
The Farmhouse Brewing, it's amazing, right? Literally, it's a great storytelling type book so far. I've been.
Here we go.
And it tells you a story about Voss and how he met the guy.
Big cauldron so you can like brew in the garden.
Not at all. Not at all.
Like a fire underneath and all that.
But
shit.
it's like how these strains came about, and they just Farmhouse Brewing then was all about 30 degrees and higher, and like a few days of brew fermentation, and it was like straight out high gravity. That sort of thing. It's fascinating. It's a cracking read. So
we've lost another one, boys. He's gone over to the dark side.
I'm not doing Farmhouse well.
Well, you're wearing that hat, so you've gone over to the dark side. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Anyway, right. So that was we talked about Nipa's oxidation. Right. Next one. Dry hop and lagers. Just like don't use Simcoe to dry hop a lager. It's just nah. I think stick to Nelson is probably one of the best. I think Tricky, you'll be able to give some good dry hopping lager types, but I find Simcoe just it. Do you know what? It's nice now, but it's taken so long to turn out decent. Yeah, so that'd be another one. I think in the group chat today we're all talking about blimmin' this Eula. It was in. Did you see that?
It did crop up because of the lemon test, and Luke was asking about lime, how much lime to put in.
So
I was interested that you put this beer up actually because I quite enjoyed this beer, Andy, and I don't even like Earl Grey tea. Like I really.
It was such a weird.
Find it quite disgusting, like on its own, but I kind of enjoyed it when it was in the beer, which was.
It was such a weird beer, right?
But it was odd. I will give you that. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, if you like it, then cool. But I was just like, nope. It's just a nope. I just wouldn't repeat. Next one was reusing trub. So see if you pitch onto a yeast cake, basically, to reuse that yeast. Just watch the previous beer. It isn't some sort of, like I did, was a bock, because you just get so much carryover. You don't realise how much carryover, but when I did it, it was like crazy amounts of that sort of caramel, sort of darker malt sort of thing that transferred over to the Vienna, which is in itself quite caramelly type lager sort of thing. But yeah, just no. And the last one, which I've just done there, was the Impy I've just done, which is tricky. I think it was on the back of the Bounty Hunter recipe.
Yeah.
And what I did, I thought, oh, do you know what would be great? I was looking at all those fruit cartons, and it was like four different fruits, and I was like, oh, that would be brilliant, you know, more the better. But it's just a total muddled fruitcake thing.
Yeah,
it might turn out okay, but
I will say, give it time, because when I was trying the Bounty Hunter for the first few weeks, I was like, oh, the blueberries, it's just like really winey and kind of like yeah, it felt like the fruit was too much in it, and not in a particularly pleasant way
either. Chocolate,
but then the chocolate just like
the chocolate in mine's insane. Like,
yeah, and that will start to kind of like level off with the fruit, and then hopefully you'll get more like a fruit chocolate bar type vibe rather than
2-3 months. Get it to the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys had the Bounty Hunter when it was still relatively young. I think that was about 2 or 3 months in, and it was coming pretty good.
Okay, I thought it was like one of the best. Like, it was right up there with some of the best.
I have to say, and this is not being disingenuous to Damien, but I think out of all the beers that I tried that night, I enjoyed yours the most.
Well, thank you very much.
That's like that was David's.
I mean, it's his recipe, so yeah, I can't take too much credit for it. The other beers were very, very different, weren't they? As well, though, like the cherry one was quite unique. I mean, I love that, but it was like it wasn't like any other imperial stout I've ever drunk.
And his beers were so drinkable as well.
Yeah,
which is and see, I've tried, because I kegged it today. Sorry. That imperial stout, and it's very drinkable. What's happened?
I thought he just went through the floorboards there.
Press the wrong button on my chair. Sorry.
All right. Okay,
like a lift going down really fucking quick.
But yeah, no, it's a good MP, but yeah, I should have maybe been more selective on the fruits, I think.
Well, I'm not sure you can chalk that up as a brewing disaster.
Remains to be seen.
I
think you're stretching on that one.
Well, but Owen, it is a very expensive beer to make. right? It's a lot of ingredients go into that, and that is a beer you do not want to F up.
I feel like, Andy, this is one of those sort of Facebook posts that's a bit cryptic, and you're expecting everyone to go, "You're right, hun."
Yes.
You're getting a bit of attention seeking right now.
Don't worry, Andy.
Give it a few
It'll
months.
all
It's
turn
at the
out
end.
right.
It's the most recent one, so
It's all his fault,
that's why
Andy.
it's there.
Don't, mate. It's his fault for being a cunt. Don't worry about it.
Right. Well, that's it then, isn't it, Andy? We're supposed to be doing a commercial break now, and I don't have another beer at the moment.
Ah,
Well, fucking remedy that situation. You
I'm going
bald-bearded
to
wank
do
puppy.
that.
Go.
You knob
Six,
jockey.
six
Go,
but,
go.
tricky.
I'm
Six
I'm
right
going.
now.
You can talk
Move.
about the beers you've obviously
Go
already
on.
got
Fuck
prepped
off.
and ready.
Go on.
You guys I've still got this Siren beer. This one's actually taking a wee bit longer. But then maybe it was because I was talking less, so and I've slowed down. You guys have rattled through yours. See, Chris has got his. Was it
Should we,
Stone Brewed?
should we just go on a slightly different topic of conversation briefly?
Yeah, let's talk about vasectomies.
No, we don't need to talk about Andy's swollen
Later,
balls.
Chris. Later.
You poor guy.
We'll need to convert. We'll need to convert them all later.
Oh, this is even worse. All right, everyone in the chat, give Andy some sympathy because
I'm okay. It's all right. They're not
his
hurting
tatters.
anymore. I'm happy now.
his tatters are in tatters. So
Andy's not producing tatty water no more.
Yeah.
no, it's just pure dust now from now on. No, I was going to talk about the competition that was held today. Lager Than Life was held at Pillars Brewery.
Don't,
in London.
Don't.
What,
don't.
Tricky?
Because we need to give Tricky some shit about this one while he's not here.
Oh,
Seriously, let's warm this one up because we need to give him fucking Boko abuse.
Well,
why?
Well, because
Because he
clearly he's fucking bribed the judges after how shit it went at the last one.
but the thing was, we all had it, and we were like, "Holy shit!
The
This is."
Shilster.
It was genuinely amazing. Like,
I thought it
what
was
was
shit.
it? The Hop Revolution? No.
I'm joking.
It was great.
Captain Shillington strikes again.
I know.
Yeah, what a wanker.
Did anyone else? Did any of the other boys get a place on it?
I think I was just looking. Tricky posted because, of course, we all submitted our entries under the Hop Edition Homebrew Club.
Yeah, I heard them, and they were all like,
trying.
"What's this Hop Edition?"
And I think there was a first and a second. So I don't know who.
Brett, was it?
Was it Brett?
Tricky got first in class and second in best in show.
Well, all credit to Brett, if indeed it was Brett.
I think it was
second.
Brett. I don't know. I picked something
Tricky
up on
might
the
know.
Discord server.
Tricky, who placed second at Lager Than Life?
For what?
I
The
don't
whole
know.
thing? What we're talking
Yeah,
about?
because you posted the best homebrew club, and we had a first and a second.
It might have been me. Yes. We didn't have a first and a. Oh no, hang on a minute. First and a second. I think that's counting the second in best of show as a second as well.
Oh, I see.
Was your second
Yes.
best in show, Tricky?
So,
Yes, it was.
Tricky, question for you: whose dick did you have to suck?
There's numerous people. It's not just one. Basically, it's you'll go around the whole London amateur brewers at a meeting, and then you'll get on the score sheet.
Like a sort of bukkake type scenario.
That's it. Pretty much a circle jerk, just straight over your head, and but you know,
Oh,
no pain, no gain.
there's a horrible visual image.
That's why his beard's in such good condition
That's
tonight.
you know slanderous. I'm sure that's not what happens at the typical lab meeting, but
Brett saying he's seen a score
Not
sheet.
for
and he's
anyone
seen his
that-
score.
any-
But
lab
anyway,
members that are
we
listening,
got
no
the Hop
offence
Edition
intended.
Homebrew Club up onto the
Did?
top deck. Finally, our cunning plan has come together.
Can I just jump in right here and say we have been kicking around an idea in the virtual office, so to speak, And yeah,
we'd actually said we were already going to start that idea, but then we all kind of forgot and didn't do it this month.
I'll be honest with you,
carry
mate.
on, Chris, carry on.
I have been otherwise engaged, and I'm the one who seems to push these ideas forward, so to speak.
It wasn't my idea, actually.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't your idea. Hang on, calm down. I'm the one who tends to push the ideas, though. You know what I mean? You're the idea producer.
Okay.
To make it happen.
The ideas.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
More of an assistant brewer kind of role. That's yeah.
Hey, look, I can't even tell you how many more batches of professional beer I've brewed than you, but you know, fuck you.
How's that brewery doing that you worked at, Chris?
Bankrupt. So.
Amazing.
Skills.
The bands are fierce tonight.
Yeah, they are. So in the near future, just to get back onto fucking task, because Tricky's being a cunt. Because he's always a cunt. There is an idea for us to form. Oh mate, I'm a massive cunt. There is an idea for us to have a Hop Edition homebrew club, which will be run by somebody that I've yet to ask. But I'm gonna ask him now. Brett, do you want to do it?
It's already a club. We just don't have any meetings at the moment.
That's what it is. Brett, you're running the Hop Edition homebrew club, mate. Just thought I'd let you know that. So we're going to be having meetings probably once a month. They'll be done either over StreamYard or they'll be done over.
This is a patrons
only yes.
thing though. Just to clarify that, so it's an added benefit of the Patreon package.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And essentially, you're going to be able to get together once a month, like, you know, talk about your beers, any beers that you want to make, any, you know, and just kind of garner ideas from a hive mind, assuming anybody but us four decides to join. And essentially, we're just going to have a little bit of homebrew club because we've all got quite a lot of knowledge. Let's get it together. Let's kind of get in there and try and organize it. It'll be one evening a month, Brett. If you can manage that, that'd be good. There you go. See, he's just agreed to it. That's an agreement. Brett's going to lead it.
Take that as affirmative. Yeah.
Well done, Brett. Thanks, mate. And so we're gonna go down that route. And if Brett says yes, then obviously we'd like Brett to lead it because Brett's a wonderful facilitator of conversation. Let's just leave it at that. I think this will be good. You can come along, talk about your beers, what you're going to make, any ideas, blah, blah, blah. If you want to send some beers to other people, crack on, do it. And we'll all sort of get together and have a bit of a chat, and we'll see where we go from there. If Brett don't want to do it, then we'll get someone else to do it. But I'd really hope that Brett would, because he's a very valued member of our Patreon team, is Brett, and he's been with us since the very beginning. So I'm hoping...
He's a fucking bestie.
He's a top lad, is Brett, to be fair.
But by running it, we just mean like opening a video chat, by the way, as well.
Yeah,
there's pretty much nothing else.
There's no other kind of responsibilities, mate.
Brett is
he's got to talk as well.
Pair of hands.
He is a trusted
guy.
Trusted lieutenant, yeah.
If you've actually spoken to him about this, or you just did it live?
That's what we're doing.
Live shaming him.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So, you know,
we're
we'll
basically backing him into a corner where he can't say no, because now we've announced it to everyone. Sorry,
yeah,
Brett.
we'd like him to. Brett, there will be certain benefits from doing this that I can facilitate. And not the kind of benefits that you get from Brooksy, different benefits, like real benefits, rather than just chucking your muck. But we'll go. We'll see what we're doing.
You're not selling it, Chris. You're not selling it.
I don't intend to sell anything.
No pressure. So
there's no pressure.
Anyway,
if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of what we're talking about. The Hop Edition Homebrew Club will be hopefully coming soon with Brett as the person who opens the meetings.
Beautiful. Anyway, we raised a point, moving on, about Lager Than Life. I'm not sure Richard received quite the kudos that he should have for placing first in the New Zealand Pilsner category after we reflected on the previous podcast.
We did.
We drank his beer, and all reflected very positively on it. Well done.
Thank you, mate.
First
I appreciate
place.
that. And as
Second
I
in
said
best
before
of
we
show.
started the pod, thank you to you guys for reassuring me that beer was decent, because I was
amazing.
having doubts after what came back from the previous competition. So I was thinking of entering something completely different to that, and obviously I'm really pleased that I didn't. And you guys all said it was good, and that you would have definitely given it a different score. So I appreciate you just give me the confidence to put it back in and go again. And as we've talked about in previous pods, if you think a beer is decent and it doesn't do that well, run it again and see what happens. And it's not always going to score the same, that's for sure, based on this one. So
what was the score for it, Tricky?
It wasn't actually the best score that I've ever got, so it got a 38. But yeah,
wow,
it won its category and then did well in best of show as well. Clearly, so
That's crazy. So
but,
do you know what my beer scored? I entered my Metzen that we tried in the previous
which
podcast.
was beautiful.
Was it 12?
37.
37.
Holy
what
shit, that's pretty decent.
Is I made the mini best of show, but didn't place.
Wow.
Well, what we were saying earlier about it potentially being a really competitive round.
A bit weird.
But you can be shortlisted into mini best of show, and then if there were a lot of beers shortlisted for that, they wouldn't necessarily all of them place. So
yeah, so I think I ended up in a very hard-fought category.
I think based on previous experience as well, like the scoring previously for what I've put in at Lager Than Life, they are pretty ruthless with the scoring as well. So I think high 30s still clearly on the base of that pretty respectable score. So yeah.
I don't understand how Owen got 37
and I was convinced
and he's not there.
Well, they're different categories.
Different categories,
start,
right?
But also the scoring got you into the mini best of show, and at that point, it's not like that beer scores higher, so it's automatically placed above it. They then retaste them and essentially just do it sort of more subjectively, or in the ballet format, as Chris is about to say.
I wasn't about to say that, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'd kind of like to think that I was probably in the mix of kind of up there with some.
Oh well, your mini best of show, you 100% were in the mix, and I was convinced that your beer would, be placed after we tried it, and it scored extremely well in the national as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
From one of the judges anyway.
Yeah, I think I'd probably got a little.
But you said you had some issues. You had some issues with the
and
packaging,
stuff,
so I think that's just unfortunate. Really, I think the beer was worthy. Of
I'm going to say
placing,
no thanks to my CO2 supplier, who decided that they're no longer going to serve the homebrew community.
That's shit.
No.
But haven't you got one of their tanks with?
I got two of them
with a
deposit
and all the rest of it as well. So
I
they're going to return that.
I didn't have to pay a deposit. I had to sign a contract, and they're going to come and collect them on Tuesday.
Sweet.
Whilst they were keen to say, "I'm sorry, we can't give you any more CO2. We would like our tanks back, though, please."
Tell them to get fucked.
Have you finished it? Are the tanks empty or
both of them? Yeah. I had a leak somewhere, I think. Yeah, so it's time for a Keyser rebuild to try and. Yeah. Maverick just posted, "Is it Sally?" And yes, it is. Yeah. So I've managed to find a new supplier that's literally just down the road, which is quite handy. Although I have to pay a refundable deposit. It's probably easier for me, right, in terms of just knowing I can get in the car and 15 minutes later have a new bottle of CO2. So.
You do realise you've got a CO2 supply that you didn't utilise properly. Maverick Brewing. I've heard they get a lot of CO2.
Yeah, it sounds like he's getting it from the place I was getting it from, but because he's commercial and I'm not, he's.
I'm sure he would have hooked you up, man.
Depends on the drive.
To be fair, he is
It's
an hour
not that
and
close,
hour and
is
a
it?
half away. So,
I mean, if you hadn't hooked yourself up with a new supply and you were struggling, then you maybe have considered it. But yeah,
correct. Anyway, I think we're supposed to be
Commercial beers.
trotting on to a commercial break before we're going to hear all about Tricky's not so good brewing.
I've got plenty of shit beers to talk about. Don't worry.
Is that New Zealand Pilsner on the list?
No.
No. Oh, that's a shame.
Well, it was nearly on the list, but not after tonight. I've reconsidered. Well, I'll start, shall I? So this looking at that in the glass, you would not guess what style this is supposed to be. It's actually
Golden Ale.
Nope. It's a Burning Sky and Track collaboration, and it's a West Coast IPA.
Wow.
Apparently. With it's Chinook, Columbus, Simcoe, and obviously the description on there is like your classic West Coast. Tasting notes, it's 6%. It is not clear at all. I mean, nowadays you'd maybe accept a slightly more haziness in a West Coast IPA, but I mean that's like NEPA kind of clarity for me.
That is pretty cloudy.
But it smells. It does smell like classic American hops. So it's all citrus, piney, dank, resiny. And I think if you try this beer and kind of like ignore what it looks like in the glass, it still tastes like a really nice West Coast IPA. So this is one of those where it's like your eyes are kind of making you expect one thing, and then on the flavour it's actually still dry, resiny, piney, very much like citrus, rind, pithy bitterness. Pretty tasty. There is maybe just I think there is something when you have the beer like with that kind of haziness in it. There's maybe just not quite that clean cut sort of flavour off of it, but it's still very good. It's pretty enjoyable. Just a little bit throws you a little bit when you pour it into the glass, and you're like, is that actually what it's supposed to be like? So yeah, it's very nice. I've not really had a Burning Sky collaboration before, but this is decent. So yeah, that's my one. Cheers. Next.
Yeah, trust Track to basically turn it into a. Is there any lactose in it?
No lactose, no. I mean, you say that, but like Track's, when they do West Coast beers, they very much go to like the new school West Coast style, where it's like all lager malt and really super kind of like clear and maybe not quite as high bitterness, but it does have that kind of like very light base in terms of the malts and the super clarity and stuff. So I was a little bit surprised that one came out like that, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm sure Burning Sky were thrilled at packaging up that Merc bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Can I go next?
No.
Yeah, go.
Owen said no. Go on.
Oh,
Go on. I'm only teasing you, you shit.
Okay, so I had a bunch of vouchers for North Brewing given to me by the wonderful people at work for Christmas and for being awesome throughout the year. And I decided to buy a shitload of beer, and I bought this one, which is by Stone Brewing, and I have no idea to pronounce it. I'm going to go with Jokavesa. Okay. Wonderful demon on the front. Okay. Now, this is an interesting beer because I have to lift my glasses up because I'm basically blind. It is an imperial stout inspired by Mexican hot chocolate. Now, I actually really do like Mexican hot. Oh, look at that! How fucked up are my glasses? I really do like Mexican hot chocolate. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you buy the buttons, like the tokens of chocolate from Amazon, you can make the best chilies and also fantastic hot chocolate. Now, this beer it is a stout brewed with chocolate, coffee, pasilla peppers, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And it's an impy, and it's coming in. Where's the ABV? Where's the ABV? I can't actually find the ABV. Where's the ABV?
They like
Oh,
to
8.
do that in American cans, don't they?
8.1%. It's like the tiniest writing right at the bottom. 8.1%. Now it's a 330ml can. So, given it's an American beer, I'm drinking it in a it's a Firestone Walker glass, which you can't see the label of because it's just there. I've not tasted this yet. I've not even tried it yet. But pasilla peppers, I really like. They're a lovely chili. They add a wonderful flavor to, loads and loads of things. And I had some dried ones I used to put in chilies. Really nice. I'm imagining this is going to be interesting. So we're going down the interesting route here, okay? Now, on the nose, loads of chocolate. That kind of fruity hint from the peppers. A little touch of vanilla. Not a lot of vanilla, but just a touch. No cinnamon, no nutmeg. Okay. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Okay, so a faint hint of nutmeg. It's actually not bad. A faint hint of nutmeg. A little bit of alcohol warmth. Followed by a kind of sweetness from the Pacific. Oh, bit of chili kicking in just now. Bit of chili on the tongue, like a tingle. Just a tingle on the tongue. The vanilla is coming through quite clear on the exhale. Do you know something? This ain't bad. Right, it's ain't a bad beer at all.
It's not like it's the lower end of Impy, right?
It's very much the lower end of Impy.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Impy.
It's got beautiful
8-1.
lacing. I can see on the glass.
It's gorgeous.
Nice head retention.
The pasilla peppers are coming through quite not fiery, just kind of tingly. Almost, I want to say vinegary, but they're not vinegary. It's kind of quite, that acidic nature that you get from a chili when
Chris,
it kind of sits on your tongue.
You're an absolute heat demon. You love your chilies.
I do love chilies.
Yeah,
but
so chili and beer is.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of cayenne in beer. I'll be honest.
I don't know. I was quite. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I was a bit.
I did not enjoy the following day. I didn't. No, Gandhi had his revenge.
That
did not make my list of shit beers because I actually thought it was quite a good beer.
Yeah.
Do you know something?
It went a wee bit overcarb, but it was still okay in the bottles, wasn't it? And it was
all right. There might even still be one or two lying around.
Yeah.
Send them to Andy. He'll love it.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did actually send me one not that long. Well, I'd say not long. Probably the last couple of years, I think. He did send us another one up. And it's a belter.
It says on the back, brewed with a robust but nuanced blend of chocolate, coffee, vanilla, nutmeg, cinnamon, pasilla peppers, and lactose. Stone Chocavatha has become one of our favorite holiday traditions. I actually really like this beer. It's nice. If you get a chance to buy this one, guys, grab a can because it's a good beer.
Chris, where did you pick it up from?
North Brewing.
All right, okay. Hi.
But I got it from there. It was in the fridges. I had 70 quid to spend, man. I just grabbed a can of fucking weird shit.
So
but
they've got some
it's
cool
nice.
Yeah.
It's almost numbing on your tongue.
Because Stone's like the American, so
it's a big brewery,
imported. Because what did Stone not have something over in Europe, and that's the one Brewdog ended up buying?
I don't know.
Germany, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, Stone tried. I think Stone tried to grow, and failed a little bit. Try to grow internationally, but massive brewery in the US.
Yeah, you don't tend to see a lot of stone beers over in the UK, do you?
There was a point where they were trying to, like you say, they were around, and they were in sort of some of the more like the online shops and stuff like that. But
the bottle shops and stuff.
Yeah,
as well.
I think they've kind of like retreated a bit, haven't they, from the European experiment?
That's it.
Mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm getting? I'm getting kind of chili cherries.
Yeah,
It's like a chili cherry flavor. This is it's a complex but very pleasant beer. The chilies aren't too in your face. The chocolate isn't too in your face. There's loads of kind of stone fruit coming through it. You've got that tingle of chili that kind of sits on your tongue and just kind of tantalizes and tickles you a little bit. The nutmeg's coming through a little bit more. The cinnamon's there, but it's not harsh. The vanilla kind of overrides all of the spices and leaves this really nice blend. It does actually taste like Mexican hot chocolate. It's a nice beer.
That's always a test for a beer, isn't it? In terms of, and I think this may relate to my beer review in a second. Does it do what it says on the can?
It does exactly what it says on the can, but it's giving quite a lot of cherry flavor, which I am massively drawn. I love a cherry beer. I love a creek.
Cherry in a dark beer.
It's sweet.
All right, okay, yeah, okay.
It's sweet. I recommend this.
It's a perceived cherry flavour.
Yes.
Which is probably a combination of the chocolate, the dark roast malt, the chili.
Yeah.
All coming together to give you a perception of cherry.
I'm going to be honest.
Not a bad outcome, right?
If you get a chance to buy this, it is fucking fantastic. This is a nice beer. I was expecting this to be Car Crash, which is why I chose it, but it's really good.
So what are you giving it out of 10?
I'm going to give it a strong 7.5, maybe 8.
Nice, tricky. Let's have your out of 10 score because we didn't get it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'd go 7 out of 10.
All right.
This is a good beer.
So
I was
Andy,
expecting it to be shocking.
Do you want to do?
I'll be quick. You know me. I like just I don't know.
I wanted to go rock.
Yeah,
rock,
even
paper,
more so
scissors.
now, eh?
You ready? Rock, paper, scissors. You kind of spoil it now. Yeah, fine.
You go last, Don, because you'll be better than me. To be honest,
do your Budvar review.
Yes. Right. So obviously we had Budvar on before, and I wanted to finish with absolute classic, and to be fair, so I thought I'd have finished with a Budvar, and see after coming. The thing is, right? So we had Budvar on before, and see to actually put it up against like these Siren beers and just coming back to the Budvar, it holds up. Right, it just holds up, and it's just got that honeyed. You come back, and it's just like this. It's almost like a slight palate cleanser in the sense it's just got this sort of lovely bready honey sort of thing that you can actually just sit back and enjoy. And yeah, Budvar stands up to the tip. So yeah, there you go.
It's a banger.
Just a banger.
Nice, clean, classic. Check.
You boys know. But yeah, just even after having all these absolute bangers tonight, and there have been absolute bangers, the Sirens. Yeah.
A little like how James Wilson started his Facebook Live for the Larger Than Life competition. It started with, when I say lager, you say life. Lager. Yeah. Which I thought was quite fun. Good bit of energy going on there down at Pillars Brewery.
Yeah, I've got to try and get down to one of the actual award ceremonies at some point.
Yeah, pick up your prizes.
I mean, it's not like out of the realms of possibility of it, more so for me than you guys, because I can hop on the train and be into London fairly quick. But it's just, normally it's like
life.
Yeah, family, life, stuff to do tomorrow, kids in the morning, etc., etc. But at least they moved it to a Saturday.
Give it another 10 years, buddy. Another 10 years, you'll be a little bolder, a little grey, but you can you can make it to.
Can't get any more grey than he is.
Scrape the Zimmer frame down to the train station.
Yeah, you can wear your tweed jacket with your elbow pads and pick up your award for best golden ale.
No.
I'll be brewing exclusively milds by that point. No, I won't.
By that point,
I'll come on to that when I talk about my shit
Everyone's just
beers.
going to groan. They'll go,
Barry's
first place to Richard Williams. Everyone's,
has he not given up yet? Surely he'll fucking die soon. Jesus.
Fucking hell, this is a good beer.
Oh, you're still
good beer.
The home brewer.
Still creaming.
Do you still need to do yours, Owen, by the way?
I do, yeah. So,
go.
I'm going to give a shout out to Wild Child Brewery. Based in Leeds. We've been there. If you haven't seen the YouTube video of our visit, it's great. There's a section of me singing all night long in a taxi, pissed out my face. And I ordered some beers from them because they were doing a pretty tasty deal on Facebook, advertising on Facebook. They were doing a 12-pack of Dark and Divine beers for 30 quid. And then I also added a 6-pack of, he's all over it, of their pale beers, which I've also been incredibly impressed with so far. Just very drinkable, 4%-ish kind of pale beers. But the Dark and Divine beers also have generally been kind of around the 5% mark. So meeting that kind of middle-aged ideal ABV. And I've had a few of them. And since we went to Wild Child, which was what, 3
years ago, at least.
3 years ago. At that time, a lot of the beers Keir was making at Wild Child were kind of flavoured dark beers, using quite a lot of kind of flavourings and stuff. And I think some of them were very overtly flavoured.
It's still doing it,
and he's still and he's okay with that. He's upfront in the fact that it says like we've used flavourings in the beer. Like we're not trying to hide that fact. But what I've observed of having a few more of his dark beers of recent is he's dialed that in. He's dialed it to a point where it's at the right level, that it's adding a nice flavour without it feeling like it's
washed out.
Trying to avoid that synthetic taste,
thing
isn't it?
In there.
Because I think we did talk about that when we were down there, as you say previously. It was like at that point there were certain beers where it was like it's nailed in this one, but then this one just tastes like you're kind of like got a few too many drops of the, the flavouring in there.
A bit too much essence.
Exactly.
What the fuck are you on about? Down,
up.
Mate, it's like fucking 150 mile north from Utrecht. What are you on about? Down. The only person who came down was Andy.
I think it was a turn of phrase, Chris. We were going downtown.
I take pride in my northern heritage. Let's go.
I meant down the gene pool, Chris. That's what I meant.
You went down in the quality of.
But I'm just gonna shut up.
Oh, he's got off screen now because he's so
works.
upset. So I'm drinking there. This beer is called Dopey Fiend. It's a cookie dough ice cream porter, 5.5%. Dope Fiend. To be fair,
I'm looking forward to this.
It's not the easiest English to read.
Banger, to be fair. It's a good one. It's Dope Fiend.
So we've got another porter. It says here for dark beer lovers out there. Array of darker and biscuit malts, trying to kind of add in that cookie kind of thing. Probably a bit more lactose in there to try and bring out that ice cream vibe. And then some natural cookie dough flavouring. And it's not got quite the same clarity as some of the other darker beers I've tried. There's no head retention on this beer at all. But coming back to my point about Chris's beer, is it does what it says on the can. So it's kind of like cookie dough ice cream porter.
Is it good?
You're getting like straight in the nose cookie dough.
That's
You're getting
mad.
chocolate. You're getting ice cream. You're
That's
getting a
good.
porter. It's a fun beer. I'm enjoying it. It's not offensive.
You drink a can.
It's cool. Yeah, like you drink a can. I wouldn't be drinking it all night, but
you wouldn't have a keg.
it's one of these kind of sillier, fun beers, which I'm enjoying right now. So I'd give it a high 6, 7 out of 10.
The thing about Kia's beers is you get the flavor it says on the can. You do. Genuinely. And that kind of is all you can ask for. And I'm always going to be a big proponent of Kia. I've spoken to him and he wants to come on the podcast.
Mr. Stressed.
But he wants to talk specifically about something that we've not spoken about on the podcast. But I think people who drink craft beer really need to know about it. So I'm going to talk to him and I'm going to get him on.
See if you get him on, Chris, that I would be like blown away, because that guy must be the most worked, busiest, stressed guy I've ever seen. Like, you could literally see the stress coming off him, how busy he is. And he's in this, this is a guy, he's in Tesco and all that. He's,
man.
Or Morrison's. He's in the supermarkets. Like, he's going.
And he wears his heart on his sleeve. If you follow his Facebook post, because obviously I do, he was talking about he'd lost one of his distributors.
Yeah, the Ebo or whatever, I can't remember.
Whatever it's called.
He lost thousands of pounds, like a couple of grand.
Yeah, no, they've fucked a load of people over because they've sold on to Beer 52 or the
Beer 52
on 52.
Yeah, and they're not taking.
And they're like, you're gonna have to wait. Basically, like,
we're not paying the debt.
We're not honouring that money right now. You might get it in a few weeks or something. It's like
that's just a huge bash to an industry that's taken a serious kick in the bollocks. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely screwed. So,
come on, Owen. I know you're drinking it. Give us another quick run through. Now you've had a few gobfuls.
Yeah, I mean it's a really non-offensive dark beer base malt, which is probably an indictment. To be fair, I think it's a nice base malt stout porter. So it gives like a great little platform to give you the flavor that it says that it's going to give you on the can. It's not overly sweet. It's not cloying. It's pretty well balanced. It's not bitter. You know, if you amped the ABV, you'd probably be into dessert stout territory.
Yeah.
But it keeps the ABV low enough that it's just sort of fun.
It's a lovely beer. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I like it. The only downside for me is it's sort of the clarity of the beer is not quite there, which is really picky. But
it's a one can beer, though, isn't it?
It's a one can beer for sure.
And that is something that I have commented on numerous times about Kia's beers, is they are very much one can beers. You drink one of them and you want to move on to something different because the flavor is very intense. That's my reading of it.
No, I agree with that from my experience.
It is. But equally, like last night, I had 4 of his pale beers. Super drinkable.
Pale beers, crushable,
Like super crushable. 3.9, 3.8.
How was the body? Was it quite? Owen, was the body okay? Because the grapefruit IPA one I had, it was a bit thin.
That was my least favourite out of the 4 I had last night. I had the English lager. I had the kind of mid-coast IPA, which was probably my favourite out of all of them, and the New Zealand. I think it was the New Zealand pale. which is also very good.
The New Zealand Pale is a good one.
And I don't think I didn't notice any of them were that thin. But the grapefruit one, that was the last beer I had, and I probably least enjoyed.
Yeah.
Compared to, so in comparison to the dark beers, which are a bit more like a one beer sort of can, you're not going to be like going back for a second. To be honest, whereas the pale beers were super drinkable.
Yeah. You could,
unless it's Siege of Khartoum, and then I'd crush that shit all night.
Well, when we went there, he had the on cask as well, and that's where I kind of stuck about, was between the cask sort of beers, because it was just like that super drinkable pale. Yeah, it was banging. Basically, you guys were all hitting the high heavies, but yeah,
there were some bangers on that night.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And then the rendition of All Night Long in the taxi on the way back, that was really good as well.
Beautiful times.
I will reach out to Kia this next week.
That'd be super cool. Yeah,
he's
a busy guy. Yeah, he's busy.
He's a busy guy, but he's already said he wants to come on. He's already said that he wants to talk about a very specific topic, which I won't ruin, because I think it's something that really needs to be spoken about, and it's something that craft beer people really need to understand. I'll tell you three guys about it.
Yeah.
But the actual topic, I think, will be. I think it'll be very interesting for a lot of people who've listened to the podcast, because it's a big topic, and it's something that needs to be talked about. And I don't think I've listened to another podcast where people have really spoken about it in the way that he will. He's a very articulate guy, is Kia.
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, I'm conscious we've been prattling on for 2 hours and 20
I want to hear
minutes
Tricky's.
Still got to hear about Tricky.
Yeah,
shit beers.
I'm gonna whiz through these because I want to try and get this done
No,
relatively close to 2.5 hours.
Let's give it the time it needs, Tricky. Because
all right, there's a fair few to talk about. So anyway, let's get into it. Pretty straightforward one. I've talked about this beer multiple times before, I think. So cardamom, don't ever put that into a beer, ever. No. Stop. Don't do it. Don't do it ever.
What beer is that?
I thought it would be a good idea to put it with chocolate in, like saying it out loud now makes me think, what the fuck was I thinking? But I was like, I'll do a chocolate and cardamom Belgian.
You did a video on this
porter or stuff. I did a video about how bad the beer was. Yeah. So feel free to go and watch that. But
this is probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Maybe. Oh, it must be more than 4 years ago. Yeah. So
yeah.
But yeah, just spices in general. I'm like, why? Don't do it unless there's a really good reason. I mean, for me, it's kind of like coriander in Belgian beers. Especially, obviously, like wit beers, coriander seed, that is, makes sense. That's tried and trusted. That works. That's a decent spice. Anything else? If you're thinking like, I want to do a Christmas beer and put spice into it, don't do that either. That's going to fuck it up. It's going to taste like mouthwash. But cardamom is like, that was like the pinnacle of don't put it in a beer for me.
I think it's basically leave it to the Belgians. Right?
Yeah.
If you are not Belgium, do not put a spice in it.
No, but
I think that's pretty much where I'm at with it now.
I find you can put cinnamon in a beer. Cinnamon's good.
Cinnamon's very easy to overdo as well, though, to be fair.
It's dynamite.
It's just spices, herbs in general. If you're gonna do it, like, make sure you've got a good reason to, and go very, very, very light on it. And then probably halve what you were thinking of putting in.
Yeah.
But don't ever use cardamom. Just don't use cardamom. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that one. The next one is another, like, piling in on the Aussie hops vibe that we've got tonight.
Galaxy!
So, Galaxy. Again, I've talked about, like, getting the kind of, like, the first experience of Galaxy and being like, this is pure fruit salad. Yeah. This is the like, I'm never going to brew with any other hop again. This is so good. I think it was either 2015 or 2016 harvest, and it was like peak Galaxy before all the Australian farms started growing it and producing the shit version of it. And literally the next batch that I bought, I think I did there was a recipe on like when I was still using not Brewfather, what's the other software? Beersmith. So on their like online recipe database, there was like a Galaxy hopped version of Mirror Pond, which is supposedly quite a famous like American pale ale, and it was all Galaxy, like all through the boil, and basically like all Galaxy and maybe Cascade or something like that. And it was so bad. It was just like raw, brutal, teeth shredding bitterness and like no fruit flavor whatsoever. Tasted like chewing on raw hop pellets. It was horrific, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was convinced that it was obviously something that I'd done wrong, because this was very early on. This was probably like one of my in the first sort of 5 or 6 all grain brews that I'd even done, probably, and it was awful. And yeah,
just a quick one on the Galaxy Tricky. I was at the Paisley Craft Beer Festival, I think. Was that a week or 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago? Aye, and it was a Galaxy and Mosaic Dipper or IPA or whatever it was, and literally it was just pure hop burn, and it was just like, this is what you get for putting Galaxy. And I actually spoke to, because Sandy the brewer was there, and he was like, yeah, literally I kegged this yesterday, and we're going to pull it after this keg is finished.
Yeah,
he was even going to wait till that keg was finished. It was like, fucking pull it now.
Just get it off. Like you don't want to have people drinking that sort of beer, though, do you? It was, and that was literally what my one was like. I was just like, no. And the thing is, I've gone back to it so many times, because I've been like, I'm chasing that first version of it, and I'll okay, just to give it a little bit of a counter argument. The Even Sharks Need Water brew that I did with the Galaxy Spectrum and the pure hop pellets from the malt miller was like really good, and it was getting back to what it was. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to go back to where it was when it was in its early days.
2021 was very good. It wasn't 2016, but it was good.
But it's just like what I put on the notes was anything with Galaxy with a dubious harvest and additions through the boil, just fucking don't, because it's gonna come out horrific.
If you're gonna put it anywhere, put it in the dry hop. Yeah, and a small amount,
kind of like what we were talking about with Chinook. Like, don't make it like 300 grams, or
it's a support.
Treat it as a
third. It's like the third hop. The smallest.
It used to be the hop that you could do that with. It's not that hop anymore. It just isn't. I don't think. So yeah, next one. Sort of kind of related back to what we were just talking about with some of those beers. So flavorings. If you are going to add flavorings to a beer, particularly when you're kegging beers, bear in mind these flavor compounds can sink to the bottom, and a keg draws up from the bottom of the keg. My experience of this
or if you've got a float, you may have a floating one, and then
it could go the other way, and then you get right to the last one. Exactly, but basically, like a lot of the flavorings that you can add will kind of mix in initially and then gradually sink down. And I had this experience in a fairly extreme way, because I made a Kolsch beer that I took to the home brew club, right? Put it in, mixed it up, and it tasted great. It was like, I've got the dosing bang on here, like I've nailed this, because I did the whole dosing thing beforehand, put it into a pint, measured it out to the fraction of a millimeter and all that shit. And I was like, right, so just put this much in, it'll be perfect. Give it a little swirl round. First few pulls off of it, great. I think it was a week later or something like that. Poured it off of the keg, didn't think anything of it, straight into plastic bottles, went down to the homebrew club meeting, right? I opened the bottle. This was passion fruit flavouring. It was one of the Mangrove Jacks little bottles you get, right? So they're like 50 mils. Whoa. Didn't use all of it. I opened it, and this was in a branch of the brew house and kitchen, right? So it's a big, like bar
Just
area.
stank
It was a
of it.
former Weatherspoons, and I opened the cap, and it was literally like the whole pub smelled of fucking passion fruit instantly. It was like, shh, like somebody just let off some kind of like,
Stink bomb.
canister stink bomm of passion fruit, and everyone's like, "Well, that smells good." I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't that strong when I tried it like last time." And everyone had a taste. It was like, "Oh, it tastes really nice," and then there was kind of like. Oh, yeah, that passion fruit's a little bit full on there, right? And then I was just getting comments for the rest of the night. The best one, right, was from the guy who actually, the brewer at Brewhouse and Kitchen, sent me a message at about 1 o'clock in the morning saying, "I've had a kebab, I've brushed my teeth, and I can still just taste passion fruit. Like, what the fuck did you do that beer, man?" And I was like, yeah, I can still taste it too, and I'm brushing my teeth at the time. So
It's like
yeah,
literally spraying
bear
an
that in
aerosol
mind.
into your mouth.
Pretty much. It was
I remember
It was
we
extreme.
talked, Tricky, we talked about it at the time, and I'd
Yeah.
done was it the Elvis juice with the grapefruit extract, and I'd found the same where it was like it would just go right down to the bottom, and it would just be like, holy shit, it was mental.
You just draw that pint off, and you're like, whoa, fuck me, why is that so like potent? But
so they must when the big breweries do it, they must mix it and just.
I think they do it
away.
in line, or they mix it and like
Yeah, so it's dosed perfect.
make sure it's like distributed perfectly and then packaged straight away.
Homogenised.
Kegs are not a good way because it's literally you're putting it in the worst, a tall like canister that's drawing from the bottom. Any kind of like sinking action in that front is just going to concentrate it down to the bottom. So yeah, don't do that.
It's like experience for
So next one is like Beware the Fruit Fly. I think one of the worst like written off beers that I've ever had was where fruit flies got into it. It was a wit beer actually, and it didn't even ferment. It just like turned to vinegar. Like it was the yeast never even got going. Fruit flies got in, and it just turned to vinegar. Was
this one of the ones that was in a box with the?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
That was during Tricky's skank wrangling phase.
It was during the phase where I was like, yes, this is a good idea to do like semi-open fermentation.
Yeah, he had Yorkshire
plastic boxes.
Squirrels in his fridge.
And I think that can work if you don't have fruit flies anywhere near it, and they're like getting in. They like crawled in because I'd wrap them with cling film around the lid, and I was thinking like that will keep anything out. They would crawl in underneath that and got in. Turned a whole batch to vinegar before it even, like, literally, it didn't ferment. I measured the gravity and I was like, how is this not working? Tasted it, it was just vinegar. I was like, this is fucking mad.
Why didn't you cook with it?
I was just like throwing that in the garden. But anyway, yeah, so if there's fruit flies around, just like make sure everything's sealed up and kill them all. Brewing mild, don't. Like, why would you? Just no.
Beast of a Midlands mild was good.
I loved from the notes you literally just wrote brewing a mild.
Yeah, full stop.
That's
all I've got to say about it. And it was based on that Beast of a Midlands mild because it was utterly shit for me. I didn't.
Do you know what I did, Becky? I went and took some vanilla extract. So you put the flipping vanilla beans and all that in it, and I was like, it's not vanilla enough, and I ended up putting a bit of the vanilla extract, and it was absolutely fine.
It just didn't taste of anything to me. I was like, why did I bother with this? But yeah, anyway, so I'll move on from that one. The next one is Appley lagers. So obviously we're talking about, acetaldehyde in this case. When I started doing it was before pressure fermenting, but I think it was like when I started experimenting with like warmer fermentation temperatures with 3470 or its equivalents, and then after that kind of pressure fermentation, I kind of got like, this is exciting. I can like turn a lager around in a week or whatever, and then get it straight into the keg, blah blah blah. And essentially what I've found over time is like, just yes, you can turn the fermentation around quickly, but don't just like pull it straight off of the yeast as soon as you hit final gravity or what you think is final gravity, because it probably needs more time. And
I've got a question.
that acetaldehyde flavor can develop afterwards, so you might taste it at that point and go, it seems good, crack on, package it, get it off the yeast. And I have had a few lagers where I've done that, even where it's been fermented warm, and I think, well, it's going to have done its job quicker, and it's ended up pretty cidery and appley flavored. So
Right, here's the thing, right?
That.
Tricky. So I take it at that. Was it single vet? Did you have a single vessel and you were rushing it because you wanted to then get it packaged and then get the next beer on? Because I had a bit of that when I had basically the Chronicle, and it would be like I had Tilton and everything. It was all just like brew, and then that's out clean. Next one.
I think that was part of it where I was like, I want to get on to the next brew, and like I'm cold crashing this, so I can't put something else in the fridge, and let's do the next one. But as Owen said, also it was kind of like trying to treat it more like an ale fermentation, and just like going, okay, 1 week, it's hit final gravity. Don't need to wait for the second week. Let's just like move on and package it.
Yeah, lagers is like add another week or two on.
Yeah, no, now I'm kind of like even if it's fermented quicker, even under pressure, I'm still like I'm gonna give it another week. Usually 2 on top of that, and just let it sit.
I take it now you've got multiple fermenters on the go.
Well, I have 2 in the fridge normally, but
it's like you can just go right, leave it.
Well, what I tend to do is like if I'm doing lagers, I'll be like, well, I'll do 2 lagers, and then I'll let them just sit for as long as they need, and then move on, or rather than. Because like you were saying, sometimes I'd be like, well, I need to get this ale in afterwards or whatever, or this IPA. And then I'd be like, okay, well, the lager's got to go because I want this now to be up at like 20 degrees again or whatever it is. So
yeah, you're limited in the fact that it's in the same fridge. So therefore
exactly.
The temperature is the constraint.
Yeah,
that's it.
But
so,
I think for me, like reflecting on probably the last 18 months, maybe 2 years, is the lesson there is, as a newer home brewer, you're always very excited about home brewing, and you want to be turning beers around all the time.
No, that's
and then you come to realise that there's no way you can be drinking that much beer on your own.
Yeah.
Right? You end up producing more beer than you can consume, right? That's because of your excitement to want to make beer. And you do kind of naturally get to a point where your brewing schedule slows down a little bit, and it falls into a natural cadence of I brew to the amount that I drink.
Yeah.
Which, depending on who you are, if you're Andy, you're still brewing every week.
No, if you're me, no, you're slowing down. Yep, you're slowing down on.
But so for me, like
now I
probably only brew once a month. But I'm very much more like
heavy.
I'm more mindful about what I'm trying to make, and I'm
I think that's it. Like, just realize, like, okay, if I'm going to do lagers, let's do a couple of them back to back, and like dedicate some time to those being in the fermentation chamber, and not go right. I want that out of there into a keg in a week. I'm going to ferment it warm, and like it will probably be okay.
Because you can do hoppy lagers and you can do traditional lagers.
Yeah.
So it's like,
or use something else like Nova Lager or whatever nowadays is probably going to get you around that issue potentially. If you like it.
Why not just?
I still prefer the
just do it proper
3470 or whatever. Yeah. So last one on my list was All Columbus IPA. I put on the notes yes but no. So like I brewed one of these based on my experience of drinking a commercial All Columbus. And I was like, that's actually really good. Like Columbus is supposed to be just pure, dank and like really weedy and a bit much like on its own. And I really enjoyed the commercial version, then did my own like red IPA version of it, and it was just like chewing on a joint basically. It was it was seriously like,
it doesn't sound that bad, I'll be honest.
Some people would have enjoyed it, but it was a bit much. It was
one can, maybe not 19 litres, Tricky.
Yeah, exactly, that was it. So it's interesting, like some hops,
Columbus is great.
In your mind, it will be great on its own, but
it's great as a 60-minute. I think Columbus is great as a 60 to give some sort of dank sort of bitterness.
I think again, it's very like Chinook. Like add a little bit of it in with other hops, and it can be a real like it will just add that little bit of gnarliness to it. But on its own, for me, it was just too much. So And you don't see very many commercial beers that are all Columbus, that's for sure. Certainly not in the current kind of like climate. So yeah, that's my list. I'm absolutely gasping for a piss, so I'm gonna nip to the loo and let you guys wrap this one up.
You and me both, Ricky. You and me
Right,
both.
I will let you two fuckers go and have a piss. I'm going to wrap this one up because I haven't done this in a while. Gentlemen, can I just say that is episode 89 in the bag.
In the bag.
It's in the bag. And
In the
Andy's
bag,
bag
baby.
is now disconnected. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire up an after party. I've got the Google Meet links in every fucking chat. All I've got to do is click go. Feel free to join us. Let's have a laugh. Some of the brewing mishaps that we've had that are probably not quite as fit for brewing consumption may be chatted about in said after party.
Nice.
And it's all going to be a bit of a giggle. It's all going to be a bit of a laugh. Tricky's fucked off, so fuck him. Everybody else, say goodbye so I can wrap this one up.
See you later.
Bye.
The standard Owen. Bye. Sounds like a dying goat. Right, we're going to call this one. Guys, we're in the bag. It's all good. We're going to an after party. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, that is the link. Please click on it and get yourselves into the after party. You should be able to get straight in. If you are on Discord, guess what? I've got one for you there as well. It is right there. If you're in the messenger chat that I used to be a member of, someone else is going to have to paste it because I'm not a member of that one anymore. And yeah, let's have a chat in the after party. Guys, love you all. Everybody else say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you all. Right. See you soon, boys. Have fun. We're out. Bye-bye.